Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
Greetings and welcome to Ask the Professor. I am your professor. Write down this telephone number. You're going to need it. No, I'm not going to say that. I won't rip off Tom like it's today, I promise. Today, you guys get to run the show, though. I've come to the conclusion the reason I do 3-hour shows is because the last hour is me trying to catch up with all the super chats that you guys give me. So I haven't done one of these in a while, so get them ready, get them lined up. You don't have to super chat, but it's nice if you do. Hey. Hello, children. Welcome to another stimulating episode. Oh, no, can't do it today. Sorry, no Greyhound cam today. Oh. All right, that's enough. Thank you. How are we doing? I have a few things that I wanted to touch on today. Actually, I kind of have I almost want to do, yes, Ned is a Chad doggo. He definitely is. He's going to be 3, by the way. His birthday, and the wonderful thing about greyhounds, the wonderful thing about greyhounds is you know pretty much every detail you ever want to know about a greyhound. I mean, unless it's like a runaway or something like that. Like Henry was a runaway. He was a stray, and he ended up in the greyhound system. But if your dog ran on a track, you pretty much know everything about his pedigree because they are thoroughbred dogs, right? So, and Ned's birthday is on Christmas Day. And Ned will be 3 years old on Christmas Day. Maybe I can't do a Christmas Day show, but maybe I'll bring him in. Like, what was Christmas? Christmas is Friday, right? Maybe I'll bring him in on the Wednesday before. Was it next Wednesday? Yeah, I'll bring him in next Wednesday. Today is going to be your show. You guys can ask me questions. I have been meaning to do an all kind of you call it sort of show for a while. I get emails up the yin yang. I am good for at least 2 or 3 wall of text emails every day, every other day. And usually it's after a show. Like last show was a big show. Thank you guys for watching. I almost want to put that in best of because that was a very well received, very well watched show. If you look at the numbers on that, it was really good. I think it's up to, is it in 30,000 right now? Pretty high anyways. And the show before that was well received as well. So I figure I will give you guys a chance to opine. And you don't necessarily have to. I mean, I'll probably, if you super chat, I'll probably see it before everything else because it color codes super chats in StreamYard, which is the software that I use when I do things like this. Let's see. Thank you guys for all the well wishes. It's still coming in. Yes, my mother passed away on December 3rd, the night of December 3rd. Her funeral was last Friday. And unfortunately, that has, it's interesting sort of being the guy that has to organize things like that. It's like, I've never had to do this before. I mean, when my father died, he was cremated and we didn't really, I had a ceremony for him because I released his ashes in Avalon Bay in Catalina. And that was probably 4 years after he passed away. So, that was interesting. Sorry, I'll try not to smack my lips. People say, "Oh, you keep smacking your lips." Okay, well, sorry. Yeah, I actually have this. I mean, do you think that makes any difference? I don't know. I don't think so. I have this mic actually is supposed to be it's supposed to knock out the C's and P's, I guess. Is the sounds on the P sounds. Again, if you want to ask me questions, that's fine. I will be happy to dig in. There's a few little things I wanted to get to, but anyways, I was just saying I have a lot of emails that come in, and I wanted to get to a couple of those today because there was a lot of questions about last Sunday's show, and I think I might get into that a little bit. There. And also, there's something that really interesting that happened. Rich Cooper put on, he did a tweet here. Let me see. I'll bring it up here in just a second. Actually, let me just jump into you guys. Christian here asked me this. She says, Rollo, any advice for losing your virginity during this rough time? I just graduated high school a few months ago, and I still haven't popped my cherry yet. Okay, well, don't think of like losing your virginity as like some rite of passage, first of all. I think that when guys isn't it interesting that we call like losing our virginity, like you have something, oh, I gave it away, I lost my virginity, like you lost it. That's what like chicks say. That's what women say. Or young women say. I lost my virginity to this guy. And I find it interesting that, and maybe this is a generational thing, but I find it interesting that like guys will say, I lost my V card. Or like losing your virginity is some sort of like your sign of, it's like passing, it's like rite of passage, right? It's a passage into something different. I don't know, but I don't think of losing virginity as sort of a loss of something. It's just you do it, right? I mean, that's it. I have a Christian. I have a post that you should go read. It's called "You Need Sex," like why men need sex. In fact, I did an episode on it about 3 or 4 months ago, I think, maybe even 5 months ago, about guys wanting to like, oh my God, it's like this mystery. You ever watch? You ever see Conan, the first Conan movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger in it, where he has to figure out the mystery of steel, and that's his whole, like his father says, your god is Crom, and you have to learn the mystery of steel, and then Thulsa Doom, the bad guy, teaches him what it is, which is kind of ironic since he's the one that killed his dad. But it's like he has this quest, like more than half the movie is him trying to figure out the mystery of steel, right? And it's almost like losing your virginity, or there's like certain things that are like these really mysterious things when I'm not mysterious, but they're like things that are like things that prompt you to, I don't know, move or to do things a little bit more differently. And I guess losing your virginity is one of them. First of all, don't think of it as losing your virginity. Think of it as, hey, I want to experience sex, right? That's basically what it is. Don't think of it in terms of losing or gaining anything, I think is the first thing. And the other thing is like, stop. I think guys, when they place that kind of emphasis or that kind of like cosmic importance, like I said, it's a mystery of the universe. I have been having sex consistently since I was 17 years old, like fairly regularly. I'm not saying there haven't been some dry spells, there have, but certainly for the last over 25 years, I've had sex very, very consistently for a very long time. And so when people say, well, how do I lose my V card? And I'm like, well, once you do, you will probably be like, okay, now what I want to do, now what? And in that essay, by the way, I wrote, I was being facetious, but I wrote in the beginning of it, it was like, I remember thinking the same thing that you do, actually. Thinking, I got to lose my virginity. Like all my friends are getting sex and I'm not. That's not that. It was more like an experience I wanted to experience, right? I want to have sex. I want to get laid, right? I'm 17 years old. And I think it's kind of strange because I think I wonder what the average age of like first sexual experience is for guys versus like women or girls right now. I don't know what that would be, but I would bet if I were a betting man, I would bet that it's probably a lot older for guys now than it is for girls. And maybe that's always how it's been, but I think it's probably a lot older now than it was in the past. But anyways, in that essay, in the very beginning of it, I said this. I said, you know what? The first time I got laid, I toweled off the equipment and I went down to 7-Eleven and got a big gulp, right? I mean, the buses still ran on time and the clouds didn't part and birds didn't sing little Disney tunes or anything like that. I mean, it was just, you have had sex just like probably, definitely your father and your father before him did. And a lot of other men who came before you. Congratulations. You don't get a trophy. You don't get, hey, that's your notch count is now 1. So, first of all, don't make a big deal out of it. Second of all, My best advice to young men who are in your position, like you say, you just graduated high school, so I presume you're about like 18. Read book 2 of The Rational Male, because in there, actually, I'll just show it to you here. I have kept this up here. This is the timeline that I've been using. This is from book 2, by the way. You are here. You are at the teen phase right there. And at this stage in your life, let's just say, the girls who, I don't even call them women, the girls who are of your peer age, your peer group age, are not interested in really anything else except for the physical at this stage. It's not that like, a lot of MGTOWs or black pill guys will give me grief about this, but they'll say, well, it's always that way. They're always going to be that. Certainly in the beginning. And certainly if women never sort of get out of that phase where they are, let me close up my email here for a moment. Sorry, guys. I think that in the beginning, young girls simply don't have the frame of reference to have value, to put value on anything else other than the physical for a very long time, right? I mean, certainly from 18 until right before maybe the epiphany phase. And maybe then some other priorities take precedent in a woman's like sort of maturation and what she finds attractive. Okay, attraction versus arousal. Keep those things in mind, because at your stage, at your age right now, don't be idealistic and don't be stupid about, especially if you're going to have sex with, if you have like a girlfriend or like you have an opportunity to have sex, or you finally, your game was tight enough and you look good enough and you were in the right place at the right time. A girl actually has some genuine desire for you, which I would suggest is something that you want to, that would be desirable, let's just say. Instead of paying for it, or you could go get laid right now if you wanted to. Like, how do I lose my V card? Well, you come to Nevada and fly into Reno. I will take you to Mound House. We'll go to the Bunny Ranch, and you make sure you have $300 to $500 in your wallet, and you'll lose your V card, guaranteed. But that's not what you want. You want to say, how do I get some girl to actually want to be having sex with me? That's really where it's at. And to do that, you need to be in pretty good shape. You need to have tight game, or start working on it anyways. It doesn't, right at your phase of life right now, I would suggest that the physicality side of things is the priority for girls of your sort of peer age, like 18, let's just say 18 to 23. You don't want to go any lower, right? You want to go 18 to 23 years old, maybe right around there. So what are girls of that age aroused by, and what are they attracted to? Well, cocky, funny. There's certainly aspects of game that will help, but primarily it's how hot is this guy? Is he cool enough for me to want to talk to? Sorry, that's the Darwinian reality of it right now. Maybe later. I'm not saying it's not important to develop yourself and to develop other aspects of your character and build your value as a man. It is. But at this stage right now, that's what the girls are looking for. There, that's your advice. Wow, everybody is starting to jump on board. Good. Thank you very much. All right, Fox say, what does the Fox say? What life advice would you give a 25-year-old in this current day and age? Get in shape. I'll make money, build muscle, learn game. That's it. That's what I would suggest. That's what I would suggest to pretty much anybody. But I don't know. Where do you live? What's your situation right now? I think it's more important to assess your situation. I can give you advice till I'm blue in the face, but if you live in Mumbai, what's some guy in Reno, Nevada going to tell you? How accurate am I going to be about that particular locale or that location? The best advice I can give you, besides the obvious, right, which is, make money, build muscle, and learn game. What I would suggest is be aware. That sounds like really stupid and esoteric, ephemeral. Oh, be aware. But be a student of I presume you're asking for advice about the sexual marketplace or whatever. Be aware of women's nature, be red pill aware. I think that is probably more important than all three of those other things, because if you don't have an accurate assessment of what's going on, you're always going to make bad decisions. You're going to make uneducated decisions. when young men end up making decisions that affect the rest of their lives. Like they oh, I loved her so much, so I decided to move to a different state or a different country, or change my major, or move to redirect my career choice, or adjust my ambitions because I wanted to facilitate a relationship. When you go and you make decisions like that, it's usually because you don't have an accurate assessment of of the game that you're in. When guys get to be about, and maybe this is what I would tell you at 25. When guys get to be about 30 years old, if they are not red pill aware, if they are not game savvy, if they are not aware of women, if they're not a good judge of women's character, and by that I mean, if they're not a good judge of women's nature, at that point, you are really being set up for a world of hurt. Remember that a lot, at least in the United States, I don't know, I think worldwide it's pretty much comparable, but in the United States, the average age of first marriage for a man is 29.8 years old, which is almost 30 years old. So when you get to that point and women are sort of coming out of, let me put this up here again. When women are coming out of what I call the epiphany phase and the transition phase, right there at that 30 point. Remember when I was talking about comparative sexual market values, right? A woman's coming down off of her peak, which is at 23, as you can see on this. And then a man is right around 36 or 37 is where I peg it. Now, guys will say, well, no, it's when you're 50. Well, thank you. Boy, men hit their sexual market value at peak. Well, thanks a lot, man. I'm 52, and that means I'm just this side of it, and I feel pretty good if that's what you really believe. I would say that your peak potential to have all of the things that make you as attractive as women might guess you would be or would want you to be. Usually that happens right around your mid-30s, 36, 37, 38, somewhere in there, maybe 35, depending. There's some guys that make more of themselves earlier on, obviously. But I would say on average, that's about right. And remember what Aristotle said. The best age for a man to marry is 36, and the best age for a woman to marry is 18, because that's when they are both pretty much at their peak, at least in Aristotle's time. So when you get to that age of 30 right there, as it stands right now in a gynocentric social order, in a post-sexual revolution social order, in a global sexual marketplace, that's the point. That's sort of the pivotal point, I think, in women's lives and men's lives. That's why I call it the epiphany phase, because that's when women are sort of like thinking that, oh, it's time for me to get right with God. And pretty much they're realizing, or their subconscious, like their id is like sort of having a debate with their ego, thinking like, well, the ego says, well, we got to find a good guy. We got to find a guy for the long-term security. We got to start a family. We can't keep this up forever. We're not as hot as we used to be. There's a new generation of 22-year-olds that are coming into the market, and they're outperforming us because they're 22, and I'm 29, 30, 31, somewhere around there. And the party's not going to last forever, even though the society says it will, or would like you to believe that your sexual market value is evergreen. And then the id says, but I really want the hot guy in the foam cannon party. I really, really, really want to have sex with him. It was so much fun back when I was so much crazier in my college days. And so there's this back and forth, really. It's kind of like an internal debate between a woman's id and her ego at that point. And she's looking for the guy who's still stupid, who's still dumb. The average woman at that age, right? Like Tommy Lahren, right? The 28 to 28, 28 is even a little bit early, like 29 to 31, somewhere around there. That's when women start to look for a guy who is good looking enough, is acceptable enough, arousing enough, but also has prospects. Like he also has he looks like he would be a guy with benefits. He's like a man with benefits. And that happens right there at that transition phase that you can see right there, that 30 spot. And all this, by the way, is in Preventive Medicine, my second book. And so you can get a better idea of what I get into. But at that point, right around 30 years old, is sort of where men are on their ascent and women are in their declination, I guess, from their sexual market value peak. And that's when women are the most necessitous, and that's when men have the most potential. And that's when women would like men who have that potential to be as dumb as possible, to be as stupid as possible with respect to, they would like them to be ignorant of the game. Because if they are, then they get the guy on his ascent. And that's when guys, and I've written articles about this. I've had guys hit me up in email saying, Rollo, you know, I'm 30 years old, and now all the girls that I wouldn't give me the time of day back in, you know, when I was in my 20s or when I was in college, now suddenly they're hitting me up on Facebook, or they're hitting me up like in my DMs or whatever, and they want to go out for coffee. They don't want to go, like, you know, tie one on, right? They don't want to go out for martinis. They want to go out and have some coffee, right? And let's catch up. And now suddenly it's like women have this motivation to be more open to a relationship with you. It's like that Ross, was it Ross and Rachel? Somebody said it wasn't Ross and Rachel, but it was from Friends, where like one of them waits for the other one. Like, if we're both single at 30, then we'll get married then. Well, that's great for the woman who's gone through her peak sexual market value years, and the guy who's just on his ascent, he gets the woman who's on her declination. And I don't think guys really realize that. So that's why I say, if you're 25 years old, you want some advice, be red pill aware. Do not make money, make muscles, learn game, but be aware of the game that you are in, because that will set you ahead of everybody else. Seriously, that will set you well above anybody else. And so I'm not saying don't get, you know, like a lot of guys will say, well, are you saying stay single forever? You'll end up like Roosh. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that you need to be educated. And the way that you're educated is you learn this stuff. You learn to be red pill aware. You experience many women. You don't commit to any of them. You stay, spin plates till you're 33, whenever you choose. I mean, it's up to you. It's not me that's telling. There's no hard and fast rule here. But at some point, you should have enough experience and enough education to understand the game that you are in. And that puts you at a serious advantage, because when you start hitting your stride in your early to mid 30s, you'll thank me for it. Put it that way. All right, let's see. What else do I have here? Boy, you guys are just laying it on. Anise says, my dad wants to be scattered off the west end of the island. Condolences. Yeah. You know, it's funny. I'll tell you what's funny is, like, I just now learned this, Anise. What he's referring to is when my father passed away from complications of Alzheimer's and dementia back in 2010. It's about 10 years ago. And I held on to his ashes until such a time that as I could make it to Catalina. And Catalina is a place that I spent a lot of time in my youth, actually. I am originally from Southern California, as you can probably tell by my Southern Californian accent. And my father used to love to scuba dive out there. And so I thought, hey, why not? Well, I transported his ashes across state lines, which is highly illegal, first of all. And second of all, I didn't ask anybody's permission. I rented a boat and I went out there, and it was myself and my daughter and my wife, and we had our own little private ceremony, and that was that. And I thought it was really good. I actually videotaped it too. I thought it was fantastic. But I didn't realize I was breaking the law by doing that. So be careful. Christian Matico, a donation to the God Emperor. Yes, that's me. God Emperor of Humanity. Sitting on the golden throne here. Can you expand on the idea of having a new hope in a red pill world? Absolutely. I think many black pillars see hypergamy as all women are gold diggers when it isn't. Okay. Well, what Christian Matico is referring to is and this is also in book 2. Also in preventive medicine, I have a post in there. It's the very last chapter of book 2, and it's called A New Hope. And that was from an essay that I wrote because back in, actually as far back as 2013, 2014, all the stuff that we get, black pill guys throw rocks at me or think I'm a dating coach or whatever. All of those criticisms, that's nothing new, man. I've been dealing with that nihilism since I started doing this. So nihilism, despondency, this sort of sense of hopelessness, because what happens is when you get unplugged, you will have a violent reaction against it. Your brain, your mind will have a violent reaction against it. And it's funny, there's a sort of an analogy to this in the Matrix movies, right? You remember the part in the Matrix, and I hate I hate that this is like such a perfect analogy, but it is. When they when they pull Neo out of his like sort of slimy pod, and they rescue him and they bring him on the Nebuchadnezzar, and the first thing he does is his mind rejects it. Even Morpheus says that after a certain age we don't unplug people because their minds can't accept the new reality of this is it's really kind of a shitty reality, right? I mean, you were living in this world that at least maybe it wasn't the greatest world in the world, but it was better than the desolation of the real world. And so what happens is Neo like sort of falls to the deck of the ship, and he barfs, and he can't accept it, and he wants to go back, and he can't go back. In fact, he gets depressed because he can't go back. He even asks that question. He says, there's no going back, is there? And Morpheus says, no, but if you could, would you really want to? And that's, I've used that as an analogy in other shows and in other essays that I've written. But the flip side of that is the fact that you're sort of changing the way you, like all of the things, like when guys get to be like 25, 30 years old, and then they come into understanding the red pill. If you have read my work, or if you have read my blog, or if you have, watched any of these shows, if you've been in any way, even peripherally involved in, red pill awareness, understanding, intersexual, from the perspective of intersexual dynamics, the odds are, I mean, if you're 18, like the last guy who hit me up, you are at an extreme advantage over guys who are 25, 30, 35, even 40. I've talked to guys, I have actually counseled guys who are as old as 70 years old, who are now sort of awakening, and they're realizing that the decisions and the conditions that they're in at this stage of their lives is all responsible to them making decisions based on what they thought were real accurate information, right? Was accurate. They thought they were making educated decisions. Like, well, women are like this, so I'm going to go and I got to get a little pretty wife, and I got to go to school, and I got to do this, and it's like this sort of progression of maturity. And a lot of tradcon guys will fight me on this as well, because their whole idea is like, for men, the only way men can be men is if they, prepare themselves to be good fathers, good husbands, good leaders of men, and own a business and go to the military, and like there's this progression of things. And that's one thing. But when you think something is true about intersexual dynamics for most of your life, a lot of the decisions, and you will realize this once you unplug, a lot of the decisions you made that made you who you are, your personality, like what you think about other people, even your religion, your family, what you think about women's nature. Like, oh, my mom would never do that. No, your mom's a woman and she would do that. Your mom is just as hypergamous as anybody else, right? Maybe she lived in a different time where hypergamy was expressed in a different way, but she is, the mechanics are there, right? I mean, the machine is still the machine. And a lot of guys have a tough time accepting that, because it is an assault. It attacks what is known as and this is not my words, this is a psychological term, it's called ego investment. And so what we do, myself included, and everybody else watching this, what we tend to do is we invest ourselves, our egos, into our personalities, into certain beliefs. So if you want to know what happens, like why is it that like social justice warriors are so freaking crazy? Well, because to admit that they're wrong, or to think in any other way, is not an attack on the actual belief. It's an attack on them and their personality. And that's what's known as an ego investment. So ego investments can be lots of things. It can be your religion. It can be your politics. It can be your family. It can be your race. It can be, there's lots and lots of different ways. It can just be your sports team, right? It could be, there's a lot of things that people will build a personality on based on what they think, what their usually it's personal experience, but what they believe, what their ego invested beliefs are, creates who they are as a person. So when you attack that belief, or that sports team, or that band, or that kind of music, or that political party, or social justice beliefs, especially now, you're not attacking that belief so much as you're attacking the person who has pretty much built their lives around that belief set. So if you're a social justice warrior and you say there are only two genders, people will lose their minds. And to the point where they want to like hunt you down and dox you and cancel you and do everything, because it's not so much an attack on the actual belief. I can show you empirically that, you know, why gender is actually not a social construct. It's actually a biological construct that leads to like the way we think, right? I've talked about evolved mental firmware and all that other good stuff in many an episode prior to this, but I can go and show you empirical data on this, and it still won't have any effect on them because it's not attacking the actual statement about gender or politics or religion or whatever. It's not that's not the attack. The attack is on the person. It's on the personality of that person. And so when you unplug somebody from that and you make it so black and white that there's no way that it's incontrovertible. And that's what they said in the movie, right? That the mind has difficulty accepting those things. And so what do? You puke on the deck, right? You can't believe, you become despondent, you become nihilistic, you become depressed as a result of that. That's part of the process of unplugging, because it's not an attack so much like everything you believed and all the things that you made. You have one life, right? And you get to be 30 years old, 40 years old, and then somebody says, everything that you believed up to this point right now has been bullshit, and the decisions that you made based on that bullshit that made you who you are, all that was wrong too. It's almost like saying you're raising your kids wrong. So yeah, and if you have no real answer to that, if you have no real counter argument, you either go into denial or you accept it at that point. Most people go into denial. But what happens is then even if you go into denial or even if you accept it, you still have to go through what I call the abyss, and you have to cross that abyss. And that's what I was talking about in A New Hope. Because what guys don't realize at that point is that there's much more prospect, there's much more potential in a red pill paradigm than there is in a blue pill paradigm, because you have accurate information. Now you don't have to base your decisions and build who you are and direct your life in a way based on false information or bad information. And now you're going to have to parse that out for yourself. It's up to you to do that. But that's one of the reasons why people today are really struggling with depression, and everything seems so dark. And it's so like, I can remember like in the 80s and even through the 90s, man, things are much more optimistic. They're much more upbeat. Music was upbeat. Our fiction, our storytelling was much more upbeat. It seems like right around like 2011, 2012, maybe 2013, right around there, things started to get real depressing. And I think the reason for that is because we have more access to information like we've never had before, like we do now with the internet, with me talking to you. There was a time, we take it for granted that, every Wednesday it's Rollo's show. I'm going to go check out Rollo's show. Or Rule Zero, it's Sunday morning, or Saturday mornings. It's like Saturday morning cartoons. But we take it for granted that it's going to be on and we're going to watch it and everything's going to be good, and we're going to be, are you not entertained, right? We're going to be entertained. We're going to be informed. I would like to think that, and that's why, play on the professor thing. Like, I would like to think that I'm helping you guys in some way, educating you as the professor or whatever. But the thing is now today we have more access to information than we've ever had before, and it's immediate. It's right there. If you want to go and look up like the data on hypergamy or oxytocin or whatever it is that I'm talking about, you go, is that really true? You can go and look that up right now and find whatever data you want. There was a time, man, we could never do that. Or if you wanted to, you had to go to the library, or you had to go to like the encyclopedia or whatever it was. You had to have a real vested interest in those things. And now everybody's an expert on everything, or they're like a semi-expert on everything. So if it doesn't fit into their personal, ego investments, then they can go find something that counters that, or they go, maybe he's right. But we've never been able to do that before. And as a result, people get depressed. And I'll dig it up for you guys here in a second, but I have a data set that shows the sharp spike in prescription SSRIs and antidepressants amongst women from 2010 to 2020. And it is just astronomical. And why? And so what prompts something like that? Well, people say, well, it's social media, it's this, it's that. I would argue that it is the information. It is being more aware of things that we used to be really ignorant about. We were all plugged into the matrix in some sense, and now we are sort of becoming a little bit more, it's what I call it in my fourth book, I call it, we are in an age of the new enlightenment. And what happens is when you get to that point where you're puking on the deck like Neo, you get depressed. And you have to find out that there's more prospect. That most guys, when they get depressed, and black pillars, doomers, whatever, everybody who is red pill and has like made more of themselves as a result of that, you have to go through that. That's why I call it the abyss. You have to cross that abyss. I've argued this as well, is that there's no such thing as a black pill, because the black pill is just the guys who can't cross the abyss. Those are the guys who can't get out of the nihilism, can't get out of the depression, can't figure out what to do with themselves, because either they lack the creativity or they lack the vision, I guess, of what they can do in a red pill paradigm. How can I exploit this? How can I live a better life? How can I actually build a better me, become the best version of me based on accurate information? They don't. They stop right there. They would rather, it's more satisfying to wallow in their self-pity than it is to actually go on and say, you know what? Once you've crossed the abyss into a red pill paradigm, you're red pill aware, you put on the red pill lens, all that good stuff, you have more advantages than so many other people. I'll give you one quick example right now. I just got back from the gym. Everybody's got a freaking mask on. It doesn't do jack shit. But you know what? Everybody's wearing one. Because, and if you know this, you will see that's human nature, right? Everybody else is doing it. So I'm going to do it too. The only reason I wear a mask is because if I can't walk into the gym without putting a mask on. And I don't even do that. I just put a little gaiter on. And then when I'm working out, I pull it down so I can breathe, and I put it back up, just because I'm not doing it for me. I'm not doing it for anybody. I'm just doing it because I'll get kicked out of the gym if I don't. And that's this herd mentality. That's part of that awareness. And so how can you profit from that? How can you, are people really this stupid? Yes. Yes, they really are. Will they actually act this way? Will they do these things if you push them in this direction or that direction, or if you feed them this information? Yes, they will. And sometimes that's depressing, because we want to think that people aren't as predictable as that. We've been taught that for a long time. We've been taught that, there's no such thing as human nature. There's no such thing as people are people, right? And you can't. I've had this a million times. Also, another thing I put in book 4. I've had so many people over the years say, Rollo, all this stuff about human nature, it doesn't matter because people are people. They'll always surprise you. They'll always do something different. Yeah, but they're predictable enough that you can make a framework around that to predict what they're going to do. Are people, and they have, because people don't like that, because they don't like it when I say, women have natures, men have natures. Is it always 100%? No, because there's always the element of choice, right? There's always the element of responsibility and that. Got it. But when it comes to the machine, yes, you can make predictions. And even if you're wrong, most of the time you're right. It's what's called a predictive framework. And what happens is the reason why guys get nihilistic and they can't cross that abyss is because they think that they're stuck. And what gets me is so many people want to fight me about all you believe in is a determinism or biological determinism or this determinism. I no, but then these guys get depressed because they believe in that determinism. The guys who are criticizing me for determinism are the ones who are wallowing in self-pity because of the same determinism. So there you have it. My in that essay, I said this, what most guys don't realize when they're in that phase, like right before they sort of cross the abyss and they get kind of depressed about things, what they don't see is the opportunity that exists in a red pill paradigm. And they haven't got to that point. Hopefully they will. As I've said before, human beings are the human state is discontent. And if you wallow in that and you're self-destructive about that, you can be that way. You can deal with discontent creatively or destructively. And if you're going to sit there and you're going to wallow in self-pity and jerk off, violently jerk off to make yourself feel better, well, understand that there is another side you have to cross over, and you have to be the one that actually picks up and does something. So that's the choice, right? There it is right there. You got to make the choice to actually go and do that. You got to decide to be something different and to do something different. That's that. What did you say? Oh, here it is. DJ Brady. Thanks for that $5, man. What did you say? Jacob. I have this one girl, 20, asking if I'm single and told me she's in an open relationship at 20. Let me tell you something, Jacob. At 20, they're all in open relationships. Keep that in mind. I told her to hit me up, but nothing yet. Your thoughts? Spin more plates. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Don't invest so much in one girl. That is probably the best advice I can give you, especially if you're like 20, or I presume you're about the same age as she is. I don't know if you are or you're not. In the 18 to 28 demographic, they're all single. Every last one of them is single. Remember that. If you're a better option, if you are a better opportunity, let's just say, they're all single. And unless there's a ring on her finger, unless she's a bride from a foreign country, they're all single. But when I get questions like this, Jacob, thank you for giving this to me, because this sort of gives me an opportunity to let other guys know this. If you send me something in email and you send me this wall of freaking text, if I'm interested, if I'm really feeling, like curious about what you're writing, I will sort it out. But please, the return key is your friend, first of all. And then second of all is a lot of the questions, a lot of the times people hit me up for advice just like this, is they will say, well, I'm 20 and she's 22, or I'm 18 and she's 17, or I am, whatever your age demographic is. And they'll say, well, you're, what about a medium is the message? She's sending me mixed messages. No, she's really not. And the only reason that you're even sending me or asking me about this girl is because you're overinvested in her. If you are asking me questions about some girl, especially if you're young, man, especially if you're 30 or younger, and you're asking me about one particular girl and what you should do to make things work out, or how do I get her to be my girlfriend? How do I get her to come around? Was this alpha? Was this beta? And all this stuff where you're asking me this stuff, that usually what the answer is spin more plates. That's what the answer is. Because if you're asking me about that one girl, you know what that says to me? That says to me that you have a sniper mentality. It means you're waiting for your one shot. It means you think that if you just do something, you find that perfect, like I got to pull, which thread should I pull to make the sweater unravel, right? What do I have to do? Like, how do I tease this out? So and the thing is it's not her, and it's not even the situation between the two of you. It's you. It's you, because you think that that's worthwhile, that's a good investment of your time. And this is not a black pill MGTOW thing, all right? I'm not saying that it's not worth it to invest your time in certain women. That's okay. But if you're like to the point where you're asking for advice on that one, what that says to me is that you don't have other options. Because if you had options, you wouldn't be asking me that. But your other options would be the ones that would be preoccupying you, and you wouldn't worry about that. When guys ask me for advice, specific advice on one girl, it's usually because they have a scarcity mentality. They don't know what they really want to. I think she's really, or they'll hit me up and they'll go, Rollo, I know what you're going to say, but she's really a quality girl. She's not like those other girls. That's the opposite. That's a gender swap version of I'm not like those other guys. I don't care. I think with the big head and not with the little head. Like that guy's like wants to make himself seem like he's unique, or like he's got some sort of it's virtue signaling, yes. But as if that's going to set him apart. It's purple cow theory, right? You want to be the purple cow in the big sea in the herd of brown cows. That's makes sense. It's deductive male bonehead deductive logic, right? Pattern recognition. You want to seem unique. Well, before guys will ask me this, they'll say, well, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, spin more plates, but she's really special. No, she's not. Because if she were, you wouldn't be hitting me up for the advice in the first place. You would be with the other girl, and you know what? If you were with the other girls, if you had a roster of 3 or 4 other girls, and they were preoccupying you, you're like, that's the whole point of being non-exclusive. That's the whole point of spinning plates. So you don't get one-itis. You're already getting one-itis if you're asking me for advice on that. I'm not saying don't ever ask me advice for what's going on with my wife or my girlfriend. I'm already in a committed relationship. But if you're going to say to me like, hey, Rollo, I'm 31 and I'm really wrapped up in this 45-year-old single mother, the odds are I'm going to tell you to just eject, because that is a bad investment of your future potential, especially if you're 30, 31. She's already well past the wall, well past the epiphany phase, well past any of that stuff. And yeah, I'm sure she's really fun and hot in bed because she's incentivized to be so. So if you're going to tell me like, oh, well, I know what you're going to say. I know she's older than me. I know that she's got 3 kids from 2 different guys, but she's really special. No, she's not. And the reason why you think that is because you don't have any other plates spinning. You don't have any other things going for yourself. So be aware. Again, what was I telling the other guy? You have to be aware of the game and the nature of the game that you are involved in right now. You don't get to exit it. Even if you go, well, I'm never going to play. I'm never going to get well. We're never going to score. We're never going to score. Yeah, if that's you, then you're not looking for my advice anyways. But still, like, you have potential. You have so much more value, especially if you are red pill aware, if you're listening to my stuff, if you're reading this stuff, you have much more potential in that red pill paradigm. Don't sell yourself short, man. Especially like, Rich Cooper always says stuff like, here's 6 reasons why you shouldn't date a single mother. Well, whether she's younger than you or older than you, like most guys, I'll tell you what's funny. And maybe I don't know this statistically. This is just me sort of spitballing here, but it's been my experience that whenever I've been on like Rich Cooper's show, which is like before the train wreck, when people would call in and they would ask for advice on their certain situations, the guys who would ask me about, or us, about single mothers or whatever, they always tended to be younger and the woman was older, which kind of makes sense, right? Because, she's in her mid-30s or whatever, and she's got 2 kids or 1 kid, whatever. Usually it's because she's already been through a phase of life that you're in right now, and you don't want to, first of all, reward her for that with your investment, your emotional investment, your financial investment, your personal whatever investment in her, because you're only absolving her of the bad decisions that she made in her life. That's number 1. Okay, so there's sort of this justification side of it. The other part is why would you waste your potential on that? Why would you want to go back and go through all of that again? Women will tell you, well, it's the noble thing to do. Well, yeah, I'm sure it is, because always the noble thing to do is whatever works best for her, not you. That's why I say, I'm a adherent of enlightened self-interest, which means I can't help others until I can help myself. Like mental point of origin, right? That it goes hand in hand with mental point of origin. I have to think, but the first thought that comes into my head is myself when I'm faced with a decision. What happens is when guys hit me up and they ask me about like, oh, should I get with the single mommy, or what should I do about this one girl? That just by them virtue of them saying that, I know that they are not their mental point of origin. If they were, you would not be asking me for advice about that. Because if you have mental point of origin, if you are the center of your existence, and what affects you, you would know. Who cares, right? A plate drops off. I'm confident enough in myself and my past, or my ability to generate more options if I don't have them. Or I'm confident enough that I've got 4 other girls on our roster who are good that I want to stick with. So one doesn't work out. Oh, well, I'm high enough value that I can do that. I'm starting to sound like Aaron Clary, aren't I? What was this? Oh, that's you. Okay. DJ Brady says, why are guys so drawn to the movie Fight Club? Because it's LARPing. It talks about mindless consumption, but also the Lost Boys generation. It does. I think if there's any upside to Fight Club. Okay, Fight Club, it's fantasy. So it's written, it's got it. But it's popular because it is a reminder of what we've lost as guys, as masculine men. Like why would guys want to get together and beat the hell out of each other? Well, because you go read Jack Donovan's Way of Men, or Becoming a Barbarian, or whatever. Go read that, and you will fully understand why Fight Club is so popular. Because we don't have to fight for our food. We don't have to kill saber-toothed tigers to protect our family. We don't have to, take down caribou or whatever to feed our family anymore. The need for physical violence so much is far less than it has in any other era prior. I'm not saying we don't beat the hell out of each other and have riots and shoot people. Yeah, we do. We still have war. We still have all of that stuff. But in sort of the domesticated, gelded male, yeah, that's why it's a popular narrative. Well, let's return to the caveman days because then we'll feel alive. Yeah, you will. Why do guys get into MMA? Why do guys get into martial arts? Why do they get into, obsessively get into working out? Why do they, those guys? And remember, that's a marginal fraction of guys today. Most guys today are fat, overweight. Was it six? Somebody gave me the stats. I was wrong. It wasn't 68%. It was 72%. Maybe I might even be under on that. 72% of, men and women, certainly in the United States, are either overweight or they are morbidly obese. If you want to set yourself apart, like I said, what do I do to set myself apart? You know what? Lose weight. That's the first thing you can do. How do I stop being a loser? Go to the gym and get to a normal weight, and that will set you above at least 70%, maybe 73% of guys right now. You want to stand out in the crowd? There you go. Look good. And that's what just busts my balls is when guys are like, well, I don't have a perfect chin. I don't have a V-tape. You know what? Start. Just what are you going to do about it? You know it. What are you going to do about it? That's my mantra for this coming year. When people go, well, the vote was stolen, or this was, or what is it? Women only want hot guys, or women, whatever it is. It's like, okay, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Because we can sit here, we got to raise awareness. Okay, well, once we do, what are we going to do about it? Where are we going to go? Who's going to pull the trigger? Who's going to work out? Who's going to do whatever? Where do we start? Where do we initiate things? And I've done this myself. I'll be the first to say, that's a lot of my work is just raising awareness. And I don't do prescriptions because I think that those prescriptions, as far as what I talk about, are something that has to be personal to that guy. That doesn't mean that you just sit there and just endlessly read theory and don't do anything and feel sorry for yourself and bad for yourself. You have to get up and you have to go do something. So what are you going to do? And that's not like, I'm not asking you what you're going to do. It's like, get off your ass and do it. You have to go out and do it. You have to put this stuff into practice at some point. If you don't, then, you can write books all day like me. Let's see. Okay, that's Ibo. I'm going to have to backtrack a little bit. Sorry, my friends. Let's see. Jeez, you guys are really getting into it today. All right. Landon asked me this. He says, is the antidote to an unstable woman always the right alpha? Or will certain women insist on instability even when presented with the ideal? I would argue this, Landon, is that women tend to adopt, or they tend to, imprint on the most dominant alpha that is in their kind of social, is in their personal surroundings, right? It could be their dad. It could be their brother. It could be the guy the abusive husband that they keep going back to. It could be the guy that's the hot guy at work who suddenly she starts liking his sports team or something like that. Yeah, that is possible. But if she's an unstable woman, first of all, if you've assessed that, then you can let that plate go. Yeah, I give you permission to stop dealing with unstable women. So, but a lot of people say, well, they're all unstable. They're all like by order of degree, maybe. But I would say that what did you say? The women instability, even when they're present. So if that's the case, if she's with the guy who's the alpha ideal, usually when I talk about borderline personality disorders, and I have talked about that before, I should probably do a full video on BPD. I have for my Patreon subscribers. There is a Patreon video for BP that I did that was specifically like focusing on borderline personality disorder. But once you get to that level of instability, what's the point? What's the point of even well, how do you make an unstable woman stable? Why would you want to? why there are so much more going on. If you have that much going on for you, then why would you want to do that? A lot of times when we're asking questions about like women's nature and what to do about it, we have to ask, why are we concerned with that in the first place? Why would we want to change that? Like, I'm sure you've heard this before. Like, people will say, well, you know, the only person's behavior you can control is your own. Good. I'm glad we got that established. So if that's the case, then if that behavior or if that mindset or if that person's personality or whatever is unstable, the only person, you're not going to change that person. Because they're screwed up. And the only thing that makes you just as screwed up is if you stick around and you're still a part of that, or you're giving any kind of headspace to that person and trying to figure out how to make things better for yourself. It goes back to Iron Rule of Tomassi number 7, which is when you take, never root through garbage when you take the garbage can to the curb. It is always time better spent developing new relationships with new prospective women than it is to try to repair, put back together a relationship with an old partner, a failed relationship with an old partner. Because everything that was there before, all of the things that you were so concerned with are still there. That person is not necessarily changing. The only reason she's coming back to you or you're going back to her is because of your circumstances. It's because of your desperation. It's because of your scarcity mentality. All 9 times out of 10. And even if it's a good situation, first thing I ask guys is this. When they say, how do I get my girlfriend back? I'll be like, well, do you want to? Okay, why do you want to? Because usually guys never ask themselves that, because they think that the cure to their loneliness, the cure to their whatever problems is to figure out or find the secret formula that will make her come around. That will make her sexual again. That will make her want to. It will get you back to those good feels that you had when you first met her and you were, having sex in the back of the car seat, right? That's that feeling that you're trying to sort of rekindle or sort of like re-inject into your arm, and it's not there anymore. So I ask guys this. I said, what do you think is I say, describe to me what is the best possible scenario. Like if she was going to be exactly what you wanted her to be, tell me what that would be like. Some guys have some pretty detailed ideas. Others don't know anything. I just wanted to lie. She would just tell me what to do. I would do it. That right there is like pathetic, first of all. And then second of all, it's like, it can't happen. It won't happen that way because it won't be organic and it won't be genuine. She's not going to be who you want her to be. So the whole thing about instability or whatever is like, okay, but at the end, you win. You win the unstable girl prize. She's the prize, right? You won. Here's your unstable girl. Good for you. But why? Why? And the why comes from here. It comes from you, not from out here. So you have to ask yourself, why do I want to be with an unstable woman? I've pretty much determined that she's got something serious. She's got narcissistic personality disorder. Lucky me. That's my prize. T.H. Hammer says, is not males' idealistic nature the weakness, vulnerability to blue pill conditioning that causes false, unrealistic expectations? How does idealistic love work as a complement to opportunistic female love? Good one. T.H. Hammer, I have written about this, and you will find I think I put this in book 3. I've written, as you might guess, I've written quite extensively about love and differing concepts or differing approaches, gendered approaches to love. And I've said this as you have to start this conversation from the perspective that when we talk about what is love, what's legitimate, like what's legitimately love. Most guys, when they get pissed off at like women, or they say, well, Rollo said that women can't actually love men. No, I didn't. I said what women lack a capacity for is to love you in the way that you think that they should be able to love you. So yeah, you can have men's idealism is both a blessing and a curse. It is the same idealism that says, I want to hike to the top of Mount Everest. I want to go see the top of Kilimanjaro, right? There's a river there and we need to put a bridge across it so we can see what's on the other side. It's that idealism that says we can do that. I can make that happen. I can think it and I can make it happen. I can go to the moon, I can go to Mars, I can go wherever because if I can think it, I can do it. I have an idealistic nature, and I want for men, I believe that men have a natural proclivity or a natural sort of instinct, I think, for idealism in the sense that we want to know what is possible. We would like to affect our will on the world. That's why men are more interested in things. Women tend to be more interested in people. The opportunistic side of love for women is that hypergamy predisposes women to falling in love or to investing themselves emotionally in men that meet certain standards or certain requirements. They have to, because that's simply the way that we've evolved. Like women don't, like hypergamy never seeks its own level. As a result of that, women's love or their investment into a guy, their emotional investment into a guy can only really come after that guy in some way meeting a few criteria on that hypergamous list, on the priority list. Royce's talked about that. It's the 436 bullet point checklist. So you have an opportunistic perspective of love, and you've got an idealistic perspective of love, because men believe in sort of like men are the romantics pretending to be the pragmatists, and women are the pragmatists pretending to be the romantics. So when guys, and they want romance, but they only want romance from the right guy, right? That's the opportunism. Women can get romance anywhere. We think of the term simp in terms of like, OnlyFans or whatever. Simps have been around forever, man, and they will be around long after I'm gone, because that's for beta male men, that has been at least seems like the most deductive reproductive strategy that those guys can be involved in. So if I give her love poems, if I tell her I love her, it's the courtly love model of love. And courtly love is basically do these things, qualify to me. I'm the one who gets to approve of your acts of devotion and love and dedication to me, because I'm the woman that you want to have sex with, and I am the highest thing. I'm God, right? Basically, is what it is. I'm the goddess, and you will, tithe to me and worship me and make your sacrifices unto me. And guys will be happy to do that because it seems like it's deductive logic. It seems like, well, if I do these things and if I qualify, then she'll want me. And for most guys, when it comes to sex, it's all about transaction. It's all about, well, if I do all these things and I measure up, and if I make enough money and I look this way and I do this and I do that, blah, 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 then finally, like I was just saying, the guy who's like saying, well, what about this 20-year-old girl? Well, okay, but you're in a scarcity mentality because you have that as like the transactional nature of sex is the only frame of reference that you have for women. So when guys say, well, how do you make that work? How do you make like idealism work with the opportunism? Well, first of all, you're aware of, you have to sort of lift yourself above that game. And guys will say, well, that sort of kills the magic, don't you think? Yes. Yes, absolutely. It kills the magic. Once you was observing the process changes the process. I'm a very idealistic person. I've been an artist all my life, and I'm not saying kill your romantic, emotional, artistic soul as a guy, but you do yourself no favors by not recognizing and not understanding how the game is played and the nature of the game that you are in. So people say, well, how can you be idealistic when you already know what the game is? Well, you can. You can enjoy it for what it is. And so I realize that, and I'll just use myself as an example here. I realize that my wife loves me, but I also understand that there's no such thing as unconditional love. And there are certain, like if I turn into an alcoholic, drunk, fat fuck, then I would say, yeah, you have every right to dump me, right? I would expect that if my daughter was married to a guy who went from being sort of hero to zero, and he just gave up on himself and everything else and didn't give a rat's ass about it. Yeah, I would understand why she would lose attraction for him. I would understand why she would fall out of love with that guy. I would understand why she would fall in love with some other dude. And guys will say, well, that's horrible. How can you think that, right? She should just do everything for him. She should be the one love conquers all, right? That's your idealistic nature, thinking that love should matter for the sake of love. Women don't think that. Not realistically anyways. They'll say they do. Who writes the best romance novels? Who writes the best romantic movies? You know, who understand for when it comes to romance, like whatever you want to call, whatever romance ends up being, who's the arbiter of romance? Romance is, guys will tell me like, well, I got to go get a ring. I got to get the perfect engagement ring or whatever. And it's not the ring. It's not date night. It's not like manufacturing romance. It's you and it's the occasion. It's what's going on. I know women who like, this is the joke, right? And this is actually, I shouldn't say it's a joke because when you'll read this sometimes in the manosphere, there was a time, and I think it was in 2009, and Royce wrote an essay about what we call the Skittles guy, the Skittles man. The Skittles guy was this kid. I think he was like 19 or something like that. And he had like 3 or 4 girls who were like literally like knifing each other, like want to kill each other because they all wanted to claim Skittles guy. And the reason they called him the Skittles guy is because he didn't give these girls like flowers or like poems or all these acts of devotion. Like one of the girls' birthdays was up and he gave her a bag of Skittles. And that bag of Skittles meant she was the one. It didn't matter that it was just a bag of Skittles. It didn't matter that it was like it could be a gum wrapper ring that he made out of origami or whatever and put on her. It doesn't matter what the actual material is. It's the value of the guy that creates the romance, not the act itself. And that's the thing is it's the value of the dude that creates the romance. So when I've said this and married guys hate it when I say this, is that you will have hotter monkey sex with your wife after a breakup or a near breakup. Like when you thought you were going to, like you made it's makeup sex, right? You're like, okay, screw you. You storm out of the house. You don't show up for 3 days. You come back and you're like, yeah, you want to fuck? Yeah, I do. Okay, let's go. That sex is going to be more intense, more passionate, more genuine desire than any date night. Than going, oh look, we're gonna go to the honeymoon suite, and I'm gonna sprinkle flowers all over the bed, and we're gonna have champagne and chocolate covered strawberries in the hot tub or whatever. That's not romance. That's contrived romance. That's like, this is what I think women really want. Let's try this. That's contrived. But the romantic side of that whole thing, and I don't know how I got on this subject, sorry, but the romantic side of things is not about the actual date night. It's not about lighting the candles and having a nice steak dinner at Ruth Chris or whatever. It's not. That's not romance. It's not the card. It's not the lingerie. It's not the candies on Valentine's Day. It's the value of the guy. So like I said, a guy can make a woman a gum wrapper ring and it will mean more to her than the $10,000 wedding ring that you give her, but the guy that she's alpha widowed from, who gave her that'll still be in her little jewelry box, and that will bring back really great memories for her. And it means it's completely worthless, but except up here, because that guy was the alpha that she's widowed from, and you're the guy who bought her a $10,000 ring. So the idealistic side and the opportunistic side can coexist, but only if you are willing to understand the game and how those two can dovetail together. So your idealism carries over her opportunism, and then you, as a guy, have to understand that her love is actually based on opportunism. Most guys can never get their heads around that. They will never wrap their heads around that, because what happens is they think, well, my idealistic concept of love is the only legitimate way of loving. And so therefore, if women are incapable of sharing that idealistic nature of love that men understand, then she's unstable, right? There's something wrong with her. And there's not. There's something wrong with you, because you think that's the only way. And that's what I keep saying is and women will do the same thing. They'll say, and this is the female side of this whole thing, is that women will come to me and they'll go, Rollo, don't men realize when women aren't in love with them? I go, no, they don't, because they don't share the same concept of love that you do. Because once that guy is not measuring up, once that guy is not, remember, women fall in love with what you are, not who you are. Maybe later they fall in love with who you are, but certainly they will not allow themselves, because hypergamy will not allow a woman to make an emotional investment in a guy who doesn't at least check down some of those boxes, who isn't a good prospect for the future. That, and again, those prospects might just be the guys just really hot and really good looking. That might be part of that. There's more to, I think, by and large, there's more to it than that. But there's those things that women will stick around for, and they'll fall in love with that guy, or they'll make an emotional investment in that guy because of what he is, at least initially. And then from there, the guy realizes you want to know why amuse mastery works so well on women? Because it implies that you're a guy that just gets it. The guy that just gets it knows what her nature is and knows what her approach to love is. And so when a guy's just like, he just understands, and he's 2 steps ahead of her, and not because he planned, he's like, oh, I got to stay 2 steps ahead of her. No, it's his second nature. He goes, I know. Yeah. Yep. I know you're going to do that. That's you. That's women. And it's not like being snotty and being arrogant. It's just like, I understand the nature of women. The guy who gets it understands the nature of women. The guy who understands or can make his idealistic love work with a woman's opportunistic love, that guy, he's the guy that just gets it. What else? I'm getting a lot of questions, so I'm going to be apologetic because I will probably spend like hours on these. Jax Hexam says, as a high value male, how can you avoid being relegated to the beta provider label, especially with epiphany and post-epiphany phase women? Okay, so first of all, you got to actually be a high value guy, all right? And so if that's what you are, and that's how you carry yourself, like I don't think a lot of guys really realize that when you are I'll give you a quick example. I don't want to carry this too long, but I'll give you a quick example. There's guys who will go from being like fat to being really in good shape, right? And they'll go, wow, women really are paying attention to me now. Really, women are rewarding me with attention, meaning like IOIs, or they want to get to know me, or maybe they're going to give me a blowjob in the bathroom or whatever. Like now I've gone from being fat 0 to like in shape hero, and women are changing their attitudes for they're rewarding me with positive strokes, right? With positivity, with positive reinforcement. This is all behavioral, by the way. And so what they think is they think, well, that's because women are just fickle and everything. No, it's not. That's just the nature of women. That's just how they are. You get in better shape or you become a higher value guy, then that's what happens. But what men don't realize is that when they become that, when they go from being like sort of fat and overweight and they become like sort of amateur bodybuilder guy, or they become like, you know, really ripped and thin or whatever, the guys who can go through that, the guys who experience that, they don't realize that as they go from overweight to being in better shape to being higher value, low value to high value, there comes sort of a personality change that goes along with that, because they're getting more positive reinforcement from women along the way until they get to that point where they are the high value guy. So what you're really asking me is somewhere in between there. Like, oh, I don't want to be the beta provider, but I'm on my way to being a higher value guy. Good. Great for you. But what you don't realize is that as you become somebody different, remember I always talked about ego investments and stuff, as your personality changes as a result of you improving yourself, so will your behavior, and you won't even be aware that you're doing it. So the behaviors that you manifest as you have more self-esteem, right? As your ego gets a little bit built up, a little bit more, as you get positive reinforcement from women along the way from 0 to hero, your manifested behavior changes, and you don't realize that you're doing it. You're just doing it sort of out of nature. Remember when I gave you guys the explanation of like the beta male superhero, like Spider-Man and Captain America are really good examples of this, because Spider-Man was a kid and he was this loser, nerdy guy. He was a teenager. He doesn't, girls don't like me kind of thing. He gets bit by the radioactive spider and he goes from 0 to hero instantly. And he has to he's still that beta good guy inside, but now he has power. Now he has like, I'm Spider-Man, right? Or it's Captain America. Right? Captain America gets turned down from the draft board, right? He can't go fight in World War II because he's too much of a wimp. And they put him in the super chamber and shoot him full of super sauce, and he comes out, and now girls want to touch him on his chest and they want to get with him, right? Because now he has like superpower. He's still the same dude that he was before he went in the chamber. But now, 10 minutes later, whatever, however long, he comes out and now he's suddenly powerful. And that's sort of this fantasy, I think, that a lot of guys who are like zeros and they want to be heroes, like, well, if I was just a hero, if I had this power, then I would use it for good because I'm still a good guy as a result of me being a zero. And then when I'm a hero, I'll still have that goodness in me, but then I'll have the power to be the hero. But what they don't realize is that those changes, or those miraculous changes, don't happen. That's the fantasy. That's why he's a superhero, right? That's why it's interesting. But along the way, from zero to hero to superhero, there's a change. There's a personality change. There's all this stuff that goes along with it. It's a hero's journey, right? That's what we call, like, when we see like Rey from Star Wars, we say she's a Mary Sue. Yeah, she is, because she didn't have to do anything. She didn't have to become a Jedi. She didn't have to become what she was, right? That's very similar to like the Spider-Man / Captain America thing. You go from being sort of this little wimpy guy with that mentality to suddenly having power, and then, it comes with lots of responsibility. Well, you would know that if you had to go and develop from loser to hero along the way, instead of jumping in or getting bit by the radioactive spider or going into the super chamber or whatever, that kind of stuff. So when you along the way, your behavior will manifest. You'll become a different person. You will be a different person as a result of the process of going from zero to hero. So how do I avoid the beta male thing? Well, you have to embrace that process, first of all. And then second of all, don't be so obsessively worried about giving that vibe off. If you're giving that vibe off, what you're doing is you're telegraphing. You're like, guys will say, well, I'm good looking and I'm high value but I can't get around the fact that women see me as beta. Or, well, why is that? You need to dissect that. And I don't care if she's in her epiphany phase or what. You have to understand, you have to realize, like, why am I coming off like that? What am I telegraphing? What are my behaviors telegraphing? I'm a good looking, 6 foot tall bodybuilder guy who's ripped, and yet women still think of me as the beta guy. Well, there's something about your person. There's something more than just your physique that's telegraphing that beta-ness to us. So what is that? What along the way did you miss? What social intelligence cues are you not picking up on? You'll get it. Eventually you'll get it, but keep those things in mind. What did he say? Let's see. Facundo says, have you read anything about that we retain 7 to 10% of what we read? So we should read a book 10 to 15 times to assimilate it. God, really? I don't know. Maybe. I'm glad that people reread or go back and highlight and do all this good stuff to my book, because that tells me that it's a living text and that it will be something that is valuable to people and guys in the future. You want to know why? Like, when you read The Rational Male, you don't just read it and then just put it back on the shelf. The guys that I've talked to, the dudes that hit me up, they're the guys that have, like, liner notes and 4 different colors of highlights for things. You keep coming back to it. Those are the books that will stick with you, by the way. Like, I think, this is just me, but I think like 48 Laws of Power is one of those. I would also put Mastery in one of those as well. It's a living text. So when you encounter something in your life, you'll come back to it in your reference. It's almost like a reference thing, right? But it's a living text. You come back to it at different points in your life because it teaches you something that's going on. And I don't have to pat myself on the back, but I would like to think that the Rational Male is a living text. Oh, James Haining. You speak more negatively about porn use than a lot of manospherians. I think I'm more objective about it. Let's just say that. What else did you say? Jesus, man, you guys are killing me today. More than no. Okay, so a lot of manospherians. What do you see as the biggest problem with the current epidemic of porn use? Pornography right now is too readily available. I think that I've done essays on this, and there's a very big part of book 4 where I talk exactly about this. but I'll give you the abbreviated version, which is when it comes to pornography today is free. It's 4K. It's streaming. It has never been more available than at any other time in history, and that's by design, because pornography today is sedation for guys. It will keep you from I'll say the energy, but it will keep you from the motivation and the incentive to do things to go and get actual sex. And that I would include OnlyFans in that. I would include certainly hardcore pornography. But there's a reason why it's free, because it's meant to sedate you. It's meant to keep you in line. If you like, guys will say, well, oh yeah, if you took away pornography, the rape incident would go up like astronomically. Maybe. But I'll tell you what else would happen is I think guys would actually be out in the streets a little bit more and more pissed off. Like, remember I said, what are you going to do about it? They would actually be doing something about it. They'll fight for you. Guys will fight you for porn. They will fight you for that sexual release. That's what sedates you. I would say that the number, like, I'm not against porn per se, but I'm against it in the sense that it is sedation, and it is something that will keep you from doing things. It's a form of crowd control, really, when it comes to guys, anyhow. How do we know that? Well, we have never in the history of humanity had the kind of stats that we have, thanks to Pornhub and some of these other sites, where if you go to Pornhub's like a blog, there's not porn on it, but there's all these stats for like our sexual habits, right? Our porn habits. Like, what is it that the America likes? What is it that Europe likes? What is it that, they have stats for like misspellings of common, like the most common like search terms for different pornography. We have more data on our sexual natures as human beings than at any other time in history. So there's a upside to it, but there's also a downside to it in that it is like, I mentioned this in the book, is that like a 9-year-old kid with a smartphone has access to a degree of sexuality, virtually a degree of sexuality that, Chinese emperors in the Forbidden City or Caligula in Rome, Roman orgies or whatever, they pales in comparison to the variety and the unlimited access to unlimited sexuality, which is men's nature, which is if we have an innate natural mating strategy, unfettered and unlimited by women's any filtration by women's hypergamy, men would opt for unlimited sexuality, unlimited access to unlimited sexuality, and that is exactly what pornography delivers to guys, and that's why you're sedated by it. So. And people will go, well, how can you say that and you still have Sterling Cooper on? Well, Sterling Cooper is a good dude, and he is always interesting, and he's got a good take on it. I think he'd probably agree with me too. At least we can talk about it. DJ again says, what do you think about guys going to the East Ukraine to find a wife? That's drying up. It's not pussy paradise. Roosh will tell you. Most like betas, but I honestly don't blame them because of the women here stink. Okay, well, let me explain to you the pussy paradise, the paradox of the pussy paradise, like that. You are sorry guys, I hate to break this to you, but you are in a global sexual marketplace, and all the hot women that Roosh just was raving about back in 2010, they're gone, or they're educated. That generation of women are gone, and you know what's replaced them? The internet women, the Tumblrinas, the Instagram girls, the OnlyFans girls. You are in a global sexual marketplace right now. So if you think that the promised land, the pussy paradise is Southeast Asia or the Ukraine, you could even say, hey, look, I found a great hot chick here. Okay. But not for long. And if it hasn't already dried up, it is in the process of drying up right now, because we are exporting gynocentrism. We are exporting Western feminism. We are exporting the expectations, the entitlements, and the same hubris that you think, oh, they all stink here. Yeah. Well, okay. Why do they stink? Because they're all fat, entitled women who think that they should be with the hot fireman, right? They think that that's the guy that they deserve, the only one that will do. They're not going to settle. Don't settle, ladies. Well, we're exporting that. Happy marriage, was it? DigiNomad says happy marriage stat 14%, 14.25%. So if yeah, so 14 is this? Am I right about this? This is Aaron Clary's thing. And by the way, if you have not seen Aaron Clary's new book, you should, because I did the cover for it. It's called The Book of Numbers. That's probably out of the Book of Numbers, isn't it? Did you know, man? 14.25% of marriages are actually happy marriages. I'd like to think I fall into that. I hope I do. Red pill aware. Be red pill aware. Not saying, again, like it's a lifestyle choice, but don't get married. Simple as that. So let's see. So less than 85%, like 80, well, I guess it would be over 85% of marriages are unhappy by that metric. Eli Gerbrandt says, a beta friend cut ties with his family and friends for a girl, now lives with her family and mom has frame. They're engaged now. Do I talk to him? No. Why? What are you going to tell? What are you going to, like, what would you tell him? You think he's going to change his mind? So I'm getting to the point right now where, remember how I've told you guys in the past, like unplugging guys from the Matrix is like dirty work. Well, that's a given, but it's also like triage. I think I've become a little bit more mercenary when it comes to that concept. Like save the ones you can and read Last Rites to the Dying. What was it? I think it's Law 10 in 48 Laws of Power, which is be careful of trying to save the drowning man because they'll try to pull you down with them. You have to let some people make their own mistakes, unfortunately. You can be there. You can be supportive. You can point them in the right direction. You can ask them the right questions. But do you talk to him? I don't know. Would you save him from something? I don't know. Samuel Gould says, draw any inspiration from Mrs. Work, MISIS, Work, Mississippi. Work, human action. See any connection between societal consumerist indoctrination and the blue pill, according to Godsod is a good resource for that. I have not read. I don't know who Mrs. is. Human action. I will look it up though. Gallivant the Gray. Nice. How detrimental is it to a man's game to be overweight? Very. It is crippling. Let's just say. To be overweight is to be. You know what I would say? I would say this: it is better to be too skinny than to be even a little bit fat. It's better to be a little bit too skinny than it is to be a little bit too fat. Some women will say, "No, it's not true." No, trust me. There are very few fat rock stars. All right. I wouldn't even put Jack Black in that. Right. He's not really right. He's an actor, but there are plenty of like heroin chic rock stars. There are plenty of rail thin, and Lord knows I was one for a while. There are plenty of, it's better to be underweight than it is to be overweight. And the reason for that is because women have a much higher standard of idealized male beauty than men will ever have for women. Dan W says, is it more important to upgrade our alpha game now that women have more success and money more success and money themselves? Is beta bucks way less important? Yes. Where should we focus on ROI wise? Okay. First off, Dan, I'm going to tell you, if you're concerned with like numbers and stuff like that, go read the Book of Numbers by Aaron Clary. That will tell you about it. In fact, that's the whole thing is about ROI, your return on investment. Most guys don't look at getting with a woman as an investment. In fact, usually it's money out, right? It's effort and time. Remember how guys will always say, well, you shouldn't chase pussy. You're chasing it. Don't chase a girl. For a lot of guys, it's really kind of just, okay, I got it. Focus on yourself. Most guys aren't going to do that. Most guys will not do that. They will be happy to be, well, for lack of a better term, simps. They will be happy to placate and supplicate to women. They will be happy to be the ones to, what Black Pill and MGTOW have said forever, like dancing monkeys. They'll be happy to be that. So where do you focus? What do you do? I would say that yes, is alpha game, upgrade your alpha game. What's alpha game, right? What does that mean to you? What does that mean to the women that you hope to attract as a result of that? Yes, being a blue pill beta is always going to be a detriment to your life in general. But what you're getting at is that today, even if it's not the actual case, the perception amongst a global consortium aggregate of women today is that the beta bucks side of hypergamy is more or less taken care of for them. So when we talk about hypergamy, there's two sides of it. There's the alpha seed and the beta need. There's alpha fucks, beta bucks. There's the arousal side, the genetic benefit side of hypergamy, which is what most women are focusing on today, right? They want the hot guy in the foam cannon party. They want the guy who's the good, fun, sexual experience that they can have while they're in their party years, right? The hoe phase. That's why, like was it Cardi B or Megan Thee Stallion? Well, I'm going to have my great hoe phase. And then what? Cash out before the party's over? That's the plan. That's Sandbergian hypergamy. That's this right here. Pretty much sums up that whole timeline right there. The party years up through the epiphany phase. That party years are the hoe phase, and the epiphany phase is the cash it out quick before the juice runs out. But during that whole timeline right there, women believe that they are entitled to the best of the best. And that's because they don't have to worry about provisioning, or even if they do have to worry about provisioning, even if they do have to be concerned about long-term security at some point along that way, they still believe that it's more taken care of for them than at any other time in history. And for the most part, they're right, depending on what country you're in, I guess. I guess it would be different in sort of like these third world, depressed countries. But, there's a national thing. There's a socioeconomic element to that. Yes, I'm recognizing that. Don't get me in the comments, all right? But by and large, the perception that the beta bucks side of hypergamy is already taken care of for women motivates them to prioritize the alpha fuck side of hypergamy. There's two sides to the hypergamous equation. So yes, should we just exclusively focus on the alpha side of things? Yeah, but again, adjust your game, adjust your direction accordingly. Should you be in top condition and top physical shape that appeals to the alpha arousal side of hypergamy? Yes. Is that the only side? No. And I think that when guys in particular focus on one side or the other, you can tell who they are. Like if you look at like anything that Jordan Peterson has written about like intersexual dynamics, it's all based on the beta bucks security, long-term security side of hypergamy, as if that's the only side that exists. If you go and you look at like black pill and the more militant MGTOW guys, it's all looks. Like looks are the only thing that matters. It's face, looks, money, and status. Looks. I gotta get Jawser size. It's all about looks, because the only thing that those guys think of is that hypergamy is only one-sided. It's only about looks. It's only about alpha seed. Jordan Peterson, it's only about provisioning and long-term security. It's only about being generous. It's only about negotiation. It's only about like long-term commitment. And that's the beta buck side. That's looking for survivability, whereas the alpha fuck side is about genetics. It is incomplete. You have an incomplete understanding of hypergamy if you only focus on one or the other side of it. So you have to always keep into account that, at different times of a woman's life, she's going to want the hot ass guy in, the fireman calendar, or she's going to want the guy who's like the good bet with some benefits. They would like the fantasy, of course, is the Beauty and the Beast thing, which is I'm writing an essay about that right now. Is that tame the wild savage, turn the hot guy in the foam cannon party into the good dad. Hope for it. Or maybe he'll mature into that guy. Maybe he'll suddenly become that guy. That's why we become alpha widows, is because they think that they can turn hot guy in the foam cannon party into good dad. And maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but it doesn't work for her. And it doesn't work consistently enough. Because why? Why would it? Because if the guys that she wants to bang are the fun, exciting guys, they're exciting for a reason. And it's not because they have a lot of responsibility. And it's not because they are planning ahead for it to become a good dad and a good husband in the future. They're the hot guy in the phone cannon party. They're the opportunity, the hypergamous opportunity. So is it good to just focus on that? Well, I don't know. It depends on where you are in your life right now. I think guys need to maximize their potential, period. You need to become the best version of yourself as you can be. But I think that, yes, maximize your alpha side. Sure. Up the alpha. I wrote about that way back in 2014. I've got an essay called Up the Alpha. It is easier to be alpha and then add a little bit of beta later on than it is to be like predominantly a beta schmuck and then try to convince women that now you're suddenly, oh, I'm alpha. You should like me for being an alpha. That's an uphill battle, my friend. Adrian says, Rollo, thanks for your work. You are welcome. What's the best way to make friends red pill aware when they are stuck with a PUA purple pill mindset? Don't. Point out their errors. But again, you're probably not going to change their minds. I think the best way to sort of put a purple pill mindset on the spot is to ask the right questions. Most of the time when I say somebody is purple pill, it's usually because I see them being red pill aware, but they don't want to accept the red pill wholesale. They want pick and pull. Usually the reason why I call it purple pill is because they're still stuck in that blue pill way of thinking, or they see the red pill as a means to achieve their blue pill ideals. Ergo, it's the purple pill, right? Red and blue. So it's not an insult. I'm like, oh, you're a purple pill. You're a purple pill jerk off. It's not an insult. It's a designation is what it is. And a lot of guys have found that they, by teaching other guys half measures about the red pill, like, oh, it's okay. You can use this part of the red pill. And yeah, women really want alpha, but they still want that nice beta, schmoozy guy. You could still have the white picket fence and the golden retriever in the yard, and you could still have 2 kids, and you could still be red pill too, and you blah, blah, blah. No, the blue pill's a lie. You have to cross the abyss. Those are guys, like the black pill, those guys get stuck in the abyss. The purple pill, they go across the abyss. They go, let me take what I can get out of this red pill and bring it back because I still haven't given up on my blue pill ideals because I really want them to work out. So maybe if I use this red pill stuff that Rollo's talking about, I can finally have my quality woman. No, your quality woman is a lie. You can have good women from a red pill paradigm. You could certainly, I hope you have lots of women from a red pill paradigm, and I hope they're all good for you. But they don't want, what they're really doing is they're trying to find a way to go from that red pill and then get the best of the blue pill with the red pill as sort of their tool set to get it. You have to abandon the red pill wholesale, or excuse me, the blue pill wholesale. Let's see, Wando. So we shouldn't go to our friends and do, and they do. Do you have a minute to learn about our Lord and Savior Rollo Tomassi and his good news? Yes, please don't do that. I'm not the Lord and I'm just the messenger, man. I just work here. I'm the guy that I hold up the mirror. I connect the dots for you. I tell you, and if you think I'm full, by the way, if you think I'm full of shit about any of the stuff that I talk about, I am more than willing to listen to you. If you want to talk about like why you say, I disagree with that. And I have a guy that actually disagreed with me on the last one. I think I might bring him up. I hope I can get to all of these. But that the only way that you can sort of evaluate the strength or the weakness of an idea is in the crucible of open debate. If you want to call me a cult leader, well, that's your opinion. If you want to say, I don't think that hypergamy is true, and this is why, then we have a debate. Then we can actually talk about something. But most people don't want to talk about it. What are your Jason the Dream says, what are your thoughts on this new vaccine? Does microwave version, will you be taking it, or will it be mandatory for all of us to take it? Thoughts, please. I'm not going to take the vaccine. And I don't think anybody else should, certainly not right now. Let's just say that. I am more than a little concerned that this is, it's hard. You know what's funny? I'll tell you something is like when you talk about like the vaccine and COVID and all this other stuff, you literally cannot talk. Notice this. You cannot talk about COVID or my mother supposedly died from COVID, right? She didn't die from COVID. She had COPD and COVID aggravated it. And that's what actually killed my mother. But they'll say that I'm sure she's written down as a COVID fatality because those facilities get lots and lots of money the more they put COVID on the death certificate. So I understand that. But just me saying that, and I know that that is a fact, trust me, ask me how I know. That is a factual statement. But if I even say that, if I disagree with the mainstream ideology, or if I'm even critical of it, like I don't know, that sounds kind of squirrely. If I say something like that, then I might as well be putting on the tinfoil hat. So if I say, no, I'm not going to take it. Oh, that Rollo, he's an anti-vaxxer. No, I'm not anti-vaxxer. I got 5 vaccinations. I'm not going to take that vaccine because I don't know what the hell is in it. I don't know what the hell is, this. Do you really know what the stats are for COVID deaths? Do we really know? Do we have accurate information on this stuff? I don't think so. And I'm already seeing reports of like people having allergic reactions to it, and how it has one of the side effects is it could give you Bell's palsy. No, I think I'll wait for a little while. I got to wear a mask for a little bit more. Okay. Honestly, I don't think, I think it's just sort of there to make people feel good about themselves. Like, oh, there's a vaccine now. Here's your card. You're going to have this card. A card that I found in 5 minutes on Google. I didn't make that, by the way. If you follow me on Twitter, you'll see I was joking around when the COVID card first came out. I found it like immediately. It was easy. I went and I looked, COVID vaccination card. I found it at a medical facility in Wyoming. I took the PDF, downloaded the PDF, put it in my downloads folder, printed it out, wrote my name on there, put some half-assed, some bullshit information on it. Looks legitimate. People actually thought I got it. I'm like, no, that's how dumb people are. That's how stupid the vast majority of people are. They want to believe. Oh, Rollo got the vaccine already. I can't believe it. Why would you do something like that? I was joking, you dumb sons of bitches. But that's all you got to do. And so if that's the case, if that's the overwhelming consensus of all of this, well, no, I'm not going to get the vaccine. Put it that way. I have no plans to get it. If I say, oh, well, I'm worried that there's going to be a gene engine or CRISPR engine in it, then people go, oh my God, what does he think? What's wrong with this guy? Let's see. What else do you have on here? Man, you guys are killing me. What are your thoughts on the new vaccine? I don't know. I'm not an early adopter of software or vaccines. How's that? Dan W says, how would you game epiphany phase women without lying and telling them you want kids and marry if you don't? Well, don't. How would you game epiphany phase women without lying and telling them you want kids and marry if you don't? The best thing I can give you, one of the reasons, by the way, that I did book 2 and I gave you that timeline is so that you can adjust your game accordingly, according to what phase of maturity that woman happens to be in. You don't have to lie to them at all. If you're spinning plates, if you have more than one girl turning at the same time, then this is a moot point. So don't do it. Don't imply. In fact, I don't know how to be more clear about plate spinning, and I've done at least one episode on plate theory. People hate it when I call it plate theory. It's really just non-exclusivity. So you have to be non-exclusive. That's the whole thing. Don't imply exclusivity. That's how do you avoid that? Don't imply exclusivity. Women would rather share a successful hot alpha than to be saddled with a faithful beta. Don't imply it. Don't imply it with your words. Don't imply it with your actions. Are all these your girlfriends? Well, some of them are my girlfriends, and some of them I consider girlfriends, and some of them I just consider. Aaron Stell says, my 43-year-old female live-in LTR said everyone she's been with before me, she's 100% controlled the relationship, and that I put her in her place when she needs to be. Never would have thought they like this. Thanks. You're welcome. Ibo, intimate with girlfriend since 1 month. After she never wants to sleep over. She also told she wants separated bedrooms in LTR later. Other than that, she's very caring, washing, cooking. What's wrong? You're allowing this? I'll tell you what's wrong. You think this is a worthwhile endeavor for you. That's what's wrong. That's an easy one to answer. You actually think this is worthwhile. I had that already open. And then Jason is here. What are your thoughts on the new vaccine? I already answered that. Dan, how would you game epiphany phase? I wouldn't. 43-year-old chick. Why are you with her? Paragon, not a question, but wasps. T is one of the best LA wasp. Wasp is great, man. Blackie Law. By the way, I have actually, well, not Chris Holmes, but Blackie Lawless from Wasp. I used to actually hang out with that dude a long time ago. Don't go and look up pictures of Blackie Lawless today. And don't go look at pictures of Vinnie Vincent today. Vinnie Vincent is... No, just don't. So you're promoting shotgun theory? I'm not you mean shotgun logic? Yes, I am exactly promoting that. Scattershot. Non-exclusivity, Marcus. Non-exclusivity. Don't be a sniper. Spread your effort. Diversify, my friend. Isn't that what they tell you? You need to diversify your portfolio, Marcus. It's how you stay alive. It's how you stay on top of things. It's how you profit in this life. Diversify, diversify, diversify. So you're promoting shotgun there, yes. Giuseppe, wow, my favorite. Where did the idea about repeal the 19th Amendment come from? It came out of the MGTOW community, I would say. The first time I heard it was like about 2016, 2017 in MGTOW communities. That's where it came from. I know it came from MGTOW. Then why are you asking? But that's not the whole story. I still think it's a bad idea and wrong. Well, okay. Thank you for your input. I think it's a bad idea too, but for a different reason. I think you're right for the wrong reason. Let's see. Aman Kumar says, friend got broken up with from his girlfriend. He's broken up about it. He's 29. I want to recommend him your books. Is that a good idea at this time? Yes. This is the time I will tell you to do so. And I hate to sound like a really opportunistic fuck, but it's true. The best time, guys will ask me this. They'll say, well, how do I unplug my friend? How do I save him? How do I unplug? How do I get him out of the matrix, Rollo? And I always say, it's like triage. You have to save the ones you can. Okay, let's just say Rollo, I have one. I can save him. How do I do it, right? Or my son, how do I make him a man? How do I make him red pill? How do I teach him these things? How do I sort of change his mind? Well, I hate to say this, but the best time to get the message across is during crisis, during trauma. Because they're doubting. They're thinking, my God, what was I thinking? Have I been doing things the wrong way? They're more open because right now you didn't have to be the one to sort of crush their ego investments. It's already been done because he's already broken up. I did everything I was supposed to. I played by the rules. I followed all the old social contracts. I'm a great catch. Why is she banging the hot guy in the foam cannon party and not me? Why am I the emotional tampon? I broke up. Oh, I'm sad. And he's going through detox right now too, by the way. So remember that. And what I mean by detox is like when we are with a girlfriend or a wife or whatever, and you break up with that person, all the good feelings that come from being in love and infatuated, and especially with sex, right? There's a lot of endorphins. There's a lot of biochemical things that happen that you rely on that person. So it's almost like they're your drug dealer. Remember I talked to you guys about how like indignation is almost like a drug to girls, and it's better for you to be the one who's the supplier than like her seeking it outside. That's the same thing for guys, except for guys become more dependent on those feelings being consistent. You want to know why guys will move women into their houses or into their apartments or whatever? Because they think, oh, well, I love her. We're going to live together for a little while, and then I'll have sex all the time, and it'll be great. And she's going to help with the rent too. Well, the reason why you're moving her in there is because you want to keep those good feelings going over and over and over again, because there's a biochemical element to that. I can show you that. I forget the name of the lady who did this. She was like I'm sure she was an Evo bio or some neurologist or something like that. She's talking about like, the chemistry of love. And when you take that away, and remember, it's not actually you're shooting it in your arm, but it has a similar chemical profile, I think, to like heroin or cocaine or something. But you produce that dopamine and those endorphins naturally because you're in love. You're meant to. You're supposed to pair bond. You're supposed to bang her and have babies. Well, how are we going to keep them all together? Well, let's make them, I don't know, what should we do? Let's make them feel really good when they get off. Let's make women let's put oxytocin into women's bloodstream and make them feel feelings of nurture. So there's a biochemical element to it too. So make sure you sort of appreciate that too, because that will make guys crazy. You want to know why guys like usually default to alcohol in a breakup? Is because it's as close to those good feelings as they can get, and then they drink themselves into oblivion and they black out and they wake up and they feel like 10 times worse because now they're hungover and all of those good feelings and all the endorphins that they were getting from their girlfriend, their wife, whatever, that they were banging, those are gone too. So you feel like shit, like absolute shit. You want a little bit of shit, now you feel like absolute shit because you're hungover because you got blackout drunk because of it. But guys will do that because it's sort of trying to reestablish those good feelings. So second of all, so the two things I tell guys is if you've got a guy who's a good candidate to give my book to or to even just like talk to about it, you have to say, here's this book, it saved my life. You could do that, but do so in a tactful way because you have to be sensitive to what the guy's going through, like chemically and then also emotionally too. But then ask questions. So he's at a point right now where he's open to listening to what you have to say about like the red pill or women's nature or the nature of the game, all that good stuff. He's receptive at this point. And I hate to say that receptivity is part of the trauma he's going through, but you're doing this with the best of intentions. You're his friend. You want to help him out. Read this book. Check it out. It'll speak to you about what you're going through. Great. Be there to answer his questions that will inevitably come when he starts. And in fact, don't even wait for them. Just say, let's talk about this chapter. Let's talk about what he says here and have that conversation. That's the whole reason why I emphasize the print book over everything else, is because I want guys to have that conversation. And that's the conversation you need to have with him. Also, if you have a guy who's not going through that, the best thing you can do is point out things and like pick your battles, right? Point out things in the news, point out things that are going on in his social life, his family, in his relationships, whatever. Don't be like, sanctimonious about it, but just be like, what do you think about that? Like use the Socratic method, right? Ask the questions that lead that person to the point that you're making so that they go, oh, well, I follow you. Right? You have to ask questions for people to sort of follow you along to the point that you want to make. Same thing applies. Because if you just go and you beat them over the head with it and say, this is the rational male, if you just read this, you'll be okay. It doesn't work. Because guys have to, especially guys, because guys have to think that they came to changing their ego investments by themselves. No guy wants to say, oh, he's living my life wrong. I mean, unless they're really at their lowest point, but they don't want to think that somebody influenced them to become who they are. That's why I don't do prescriptions. I don't want guys to say, well, Rollo Tomassi made me the man I am today. I hope you don't think that. I hope you made yourself the man. I hope I gave you the tools, but I hope you will create your own sort of your creation of your life according to the things that are, your personal conditions and things like that. You have to adopt that same mentality with the people that you want to unplug. I do. So seems to me the most efficient way. Let's just say that. I got a kitty sticker again from this guy. It was $10 too. That was really good. I wish I could show you these on screen, but StreamYard won't let me show stickers. Sherlock Holmes says, have you ever been shut down by your wife when you tried initiating sex with her? How did you respond to that without coming off pissed off as she shut you down? I think the only time my wife has ever shut me down sexually is like, I think she was sick, you know, and maybe I didn't know it. I don't think I have. I don't know. This is going to sound like, oh, of course not, but I don't think like my wife has never really shut me down that way. Usually it's like I can initiate sex, right? And she can initiate sex too. I think that's one of the great things about like at least my relationship with my wife is that we both kind of do it. Like we're both interested enough in each other to want to initiate. I have a lot of guys, especially older guys, who say, well, my wife never initiates. I only ever and when I have sex, it's only like starfish sex, or it's just another chore for her. And I'm the one that has to initiate. If you're the guy that's doing that all the time and you're the one, if she's not into it and it's just like she's just giving you duty sex all the time, you're probably in a position where you have to jump through hoops, or you have to she's making rules for you. There was a time, I will say this, I'll be straight up honest with you. There was a time when I first got married, and I've been married for almost 24 and a half years now, and I've been having sex with my wife for 25 and a half years now. And there's a time, like I was used to, particularly before I met my wife, I was used to being able to pick up a chick and know within, the first half hour if I was going to end up in bed with this girl. And the girls that I couldn't, or the girls who would make rules for me, I had the option to just sort of just say, okay, whatever, because this was again, rock star 20s, right? I was spinning plates, but I didn't realize I was spinning plates. It was just something I did naturally, right? It's like, why wouldn't I don't want to get married and I don't want a girlfriend. So why wouldn't I have multiple options going at one time? So if one didn't work out, I would call over my booty call and I'd get laid, and that was good. And I never had to really worry about the, jumping through hoops or worrying about rules being made, because I always had at least two other girls that were certainly didn't want to make rules. They were happy that they got the call. I have had 3 booty calls in my end count in my sexual history. And I will tell you this is like I don't feel bad about it. I don't have any regrets about them being booty calls, but I will say that there's a certain utility in having a roster of women. Because when one girl shuts you down, you already know that you have other girls on tap. Well, you can't do that. You're supposed to not do it, right? When you are married. And so that puts guys into a real difficult position. You want to know why guys resort to pornography? That's why. I think that there was a time continuing the thought. There was a time when I would have been the guy who would have been, who would take numbers, right? I would say, oh, well, we only had sex 3 times this month. We only had sex 6 times this month, right? We only had sex 3 times this week. We're supposed to have it 4, or every other day. And there was a time where I was like, I could do that. And a lot of guys do this too. They think that the frequency of sex ends up being like the litmus test for the quality of the relationship. So they go, well, I have sex with my wife 4 times a week, and so therefore I have a good relationship. Whereas a sexless marriage is like 1 or 2 times in like 10 months, once a month is a sexless marriage, I think is according to stats or the APA or something like that. And so that means you're only having sex anywhere between 10 and 12 times a year is a sexless marriage according to the APA. So what do you do? And most guys don't have the option because they're married, right? They can't do much of anything because she has the cooter and you don't, and she makes the rules and you don't. And there was a point, I think, that I said, I was like, wow, we're only having sex like 3 times a week instead of like 5 times a week or whatever, or 2 times a week instead of 4 times a week. And I would be like, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to be like, okay, we'll have sex when you want to have sex. And I think that right there was enough to sort of stoke imagination. Oh, really? Yeah. No quotas, no nothing. And I was, of course, I'm in a different situation though, because I've been working in the casino industry for a long time. I work around the beautiful people all the time. Not so much this year, obviously, but when you work in alcohol, when you work in promotion, gig promotions and things like that, or when you're doing stuff for the only vice I have not worked in is pornography. I've worked in gambling and alcohol, but I have not worked in porn. But I'm in a different position. Most guys don't have that opportunity. They're not surrounded. Like I have, put it this way, I have been in charge of the promotion and the advertising and the brand management of brands of alcohol for coming on 22 years now, pretty close to 22 years, at least 20 years. And in that time, I have to be the one who is responsible for picking girls to go to gigs, to go to promos and stuff. I'll have to pick them out I have my certain favorites. That's why I call them my poor girls, right? They're basically booth candy. So I go and I do stuff like that. And I'm the one that is in charge of that because I'm the art director. I'm the one that has, this is how I want this brand represented. And these are the girls that I want there flirting with the guys who are drinking my booze. And most guys don't get that. Most guys don't get to go to clubs. Most guys don't get to, like, certainly married guys, they don't make a living. Unless you own a club, you probably, or a brand of liquor, you probably don't do that. In fact, even the guys that own brands of liquor don't do that. I'm the guy that's promoting theirs. So I'm in a different position. So if I go, well, okay, it's on you. Whenever you're horny, you tell me. And I'll tell you, just that, like taking that away, like being less obsessed about it, being less worried about frequency, really did more for frequency than anything else. So it's like, oh, well, you're flying off to Vegas this weekend. I better ride you to glory before you go. Okay. So I wouldn't make a big deal out of it. I think one of the mistakes, like I know about that guy who like kept this spreadsheet of however many times his wife turned him down for sex. That is beta male behavior right there. Because if you were the guy who other men wanted to be and other women wanted to fuck, you wouldn't be taking those. That wouldn't even be an afterthought to you. To say, oh, well, look, see, well, back on October 27th, you said you had a headache, honey. Yeah, because you're not the guy she wants to fuck. Become the guy she wants to fuck. And the guy she wants to fuck doesn't keep a spreadsheet of the many times she's turned him down. It's not about that. It's not about the frequency. It's not about documenting it. Guys who do that are appealing to women's reason. Well, we're married, and so you're my only source of sex, and you've turned me down 80 times in the last 4 months. Yeah, because she doesn't want to fuck you. Yeah, but you should be asking yourself, why is it that she doesn't want to fuck me? And that's the question you need to be asking yourself. What's the key to this is iFlax says, what's the key to a long and happy LTR? Polarity, my friend, polarity. It is not similarity. You need to maintain your identity and you need to maintain frame. That's the key to an LTR, but polarity is the key. Be the one that you have to be the guy that she comes to and not you go to her. Treat her like a celebrity and she'll treat you like a fan. And that's true in and out of a long-term relationship. Patrick von Prussia. Do you think spinning plates without social media is even possible nowadays? No, but if it is, it's it's exceptionally rare. I think it depends on the culture and depends on where you're at, and it depends on like the local sexual marketplace versus the global sexual marketplace. No, I don't. I'm just going to say no. I think it is possible, but let's just say so exceptionally rare that I wouldn't build a framework around it. It was difficult enough before the lockdowns, but it barely seems possible now. Yeah. So what are you doing in the meantime? You've lost a year. Who was it that said this to me? Was it on Rule Zero? I forget who said this. Somebody said to me, they said, you think about all the girls who are like 20, they turn 20. My daughter turned 22 this year, right? Think of the girls who turn 23 or so, 24, in 2020 and we're unable to like go on dates or to meet up or to go to clubs because God knows I'm not selling booze this year, that's for sure. No clubs, no fun, no conventions, no nothing, as you know, because of all this bullshit. So think about this. So who was it that said this? They said, maybe it was last show, or no, it was a show. I'm sorry. It was the show when I was doing the peak, the sexual market value peak show. Imagine you're 23 years old in 2020 and you basically burned your peak year away because of the lockdowns. Well, if the lockdowns continue for another year, that's another 2 years that you're gone, that you're sort of out of the market, or as a woman, your ability to get with a guy is not, let's just say it's diminished considerably. That can be rough. And I 100% agree with you. I would not want to be in your shoes if you are trying to date or trying to find somebody to get around. I want to say this. I think that we need to be careful in the red pill communities. I think we need to be a little more careful in the manosphere, particularly when it comes to like PUA, what everybody wants to call PUA. It's not even really PUA anymore, but when it comes to game, we're relying too much on the digital right now. And you're right. And in some cases, rightly so. We're relying too much on our presentation of our brand of me. Because if you're dating, you're single right now, you're your own brand. I'm my own brand. You're your own brand. If you have a Facebook page, if you have Instagram, if you have a blog, if you have whatever, if you're on Twitter, you're your own brand. Even if you don't make any money off, you haven't monetized your brand, doesn't matter. You're your own brand. And I think we get too wrapped up in that because our digital consciousness becomes our main consciousness. And so then when we meet people in real life and we're hanging out and we're doing things, we're just stumble all over ourselves because we're so used to dealing with people with the third wall, which is right. I can break the third wall by talking to you like this, right? Or I could be an actor and just like pretend you're not there kind of thing. But I think that digital consciousness is sort of throwing us off right now because we're too reliant on it. It's a buffer. I mentioned this in book 1. I mentioned this as far back as 2004, 2005, is that we use texts and now we use Instagram and now girls are using OnlyFans. Like we use the technology as a buffer for rejection. So when a woman why is ghosting a thing? Because the technology is a buffer for rejection. She dumps out, she deletes you from her contacts. You could still be a creep and stalk her digitally, sure, but you've been ghosted, And we're sort of having, like, human beings are kind of having to deal with this, like deal with a new consciousness, a digital consciousness. And how it applies to us socially is something I think we're still starting to figure out. Oh my goodness, what else is here? Paragon, not a question, but wasp. Okay, you gave me that. Sherlock Holmes. Dr. Rollo, what trick do you use to game your wife without her being aware of what you are doing, since she read your book and is cognizant of the tricks and games you might be using on her? Okay, so what you're talking about is the observer effect. Observing a process changes a process. And the best answer I can give you, and this is not to be cagey, but never teach everybody all your tricks. A good magician never teaches everyone all his best tricks. So yes, I've written stuff. My wife has read book 1 and part of book 2. She has not read book 3. And it's possible she will read book 4. I don't know. If she has interest, we'll see. She has read a lot of my stuff. God forbid, I don't think she's watching right now, but she watches these occasionally. If I say something's good, sometimes I'll time cue something and send it to her and just to start a conversation kind of thing. But I don't use game on my wife because I am the game. I don't have to because it's my second nature. It's what's expected of me right now. I'll tell you you want to know what the game is? The game is like is not so much playing, you're being manipulative. You're playing games with her. That's not what I do. I default to game. I default to what, like, my personality now. I've been doing this for so long and I've figured things out, I think, well enough to have a good, successful marriage based on it, that it's become second nature. It's just what I do, right? I default to to my frame. I default to mental point of origin. That was the best thing I ever did. But that's not game. That's me right here. Enlightened self-interest. My wife expects me to think of myself first and then do what's best for the family, do what's best for her, do what's best for my mother-in-law, even do what's best for the dogs. Oh, you got a raise. Great. Let's go to the dog park. So it's not so much about game as it is about internalizing it. A lot of guys lose the narrative on that. They think, oh, Rollo, I wouldn't want to be in his relationship. He has to game and manipulate his wife all the time and try to think. It's like I'm playing 4D chess with my wife. I got to think 7 moves ahead. No, it's just who I am right now. And that's what she expects from me. So it's not like, it's not like I can count on the fingers of one hand how many times I've actually been in a serious fight with my wife in almost 25 years now. And that's not me just like glossing myself. That's just the way it is. And of those fights, I don't think one of them has lasted more than 24 hours. My wife actually has some pretty good insight. Like when she knows she fucked up, right? And I do too. It's like, I'm not going to be the guy that's going to be never say you're sorry. Well, okay. Just depends on, if I ever get into a disagreement with my wife, it's never about sex. It might be about like directing like things that we want to do, or maybe scheduling, logistics. There you go. Logistics, patience. I'm a much more patient individual than my wife is. Maybe that surprises you or not. So when it comes to those kinds of things, and like I'm a little more patient, like I'm willing to give people the benefit of the doubt. And I get in trouble for that because people say, well, you're just naive. Well, I'm not naive. I know what people are like. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. I want to see that I want to believe that they'll do the right thing, and then they fuck me. So I can't believe you did that. Well, it was me trying to give you a chance, and now you fuck me. Voodoo Train says, been here a while. Thanks, Rollo. Dumped over a year ago after leaving job plus becoming beta. That's called backsliding, my friend. A new career, learned guitar. Good. Back in the gym, IOIs, spinning plates. Still lament the one who left. Why? Because you are still, well, I could say it's a chemical thing. Remember, it's a detox thing, but it's because you haven't found someone who yet, or a bunch of women yet who will force that out of your brain. Keep going. You're doing all right. If you're being honest with me, you're doing all right. Michael Ironside, when you can't get over her, it's because you have a back brain realization that 100% idealized love you imagined you had with her wasn't real and will never be fully realized with another woman. Well, yes, but also this, and I've had enough guys tell me this as well, and I think I did this in, what is this? Is that Chris? Okay, I caught up finally. So when it comes to like guys will tell me, I can't get over her, Rollo, I'm going to kill myself. Or the thought of her with another guy is just eating me alive. Well, the reason for that is because you started that relationship with her from a position of being in one-itis, like from being your soulmate. So there's this kind of like esoteric, this ephemeral cosmic significance you give. Like guys will do that because, and this is really, I try to stress this for guys who are like 18 years old, 17, 8, like the guy who was the first guy, is when you first have sex with that girl, like the guy who's trying to lose his V card, his virginity, you have to be real careful with those guys because what they will do is they will put such cosmic significance. It's meaningful sex, not meaningless. And that's why I said, I wrote that one article about why guys need sex. I started it out like when I had sex for the first time, I didn't see stars, right? The angels did, the clouds didn't part and the sun didn't shine down and there was no angels singing or anything like that. It was just, I went down, toweled off the stuff, got a big gulp, came back, hung out, probably went after it again a few hours after that. It was good. I liked it. She liked it. It was fun. It was enjoyable. It was an enjoyable experience, but it wasn't, Rollo, and all the, the little bluebirds land on your shoulder. And it wasn't Snow White, man. It didn't, that wasn't it. But I think a lot of guys think that is supposed to be it. You'll hear this from trad guns all the time. Oh, that Rollo, he's just encouraging men to have meaningless sex. No. Meaning is subjective to the guy that's doing it. I've had lots of sex in my life and I meant to bang every one of them. Okay. So meaning, whatever, I wanted to have an enjoy. I don't think I have ever applied like this sort of cosmic significance to sex that I think a lot of guys do. And maybe I think probably that comes because if you have access to sex, and I'm not saying unlimited access, but I'm saying if you're one of these guys, and you don't have to be the guy that like every girl wants to bang. You could just be the guy who you can get it if he works at it a little bit. And girls want him, but he's not like super Chad, not Giga Chad, right? Even that guy with just a little bit of abundance, you're not going to put the same level of like religious cosmic importance on whether sex is meaningful or meaningless. The sex is just sex. It's fun. It feels good. It's something that is enjoyable. And can you apply meaning to it? Absolutely. I definitely have meaningful sex with my wife. I love her very much, right? That's part of it. But when I first met her and we first started getting after it, it was just, let's get after it. Okay, good. And we enjoyed it, and now we can move on. Now we can apply meaning to it if we want to. But it doesn't start out as like, oh, angels and bluebirds. Did I catch up to you? I did a little bit. Alejandro, are you ever going on Myron and Fresh Prince's podcast? Fresh's podcast? They've already been on mine, man. You mean me going out there into Miami? I'm already working on that. Myron has already invited me. He's going to actually put me up out there. I'm trying, and if Myron's watching, I'm trying to make it coincide with something I actually have to do in Deerfield Beach. So I might actually be coming out there anyway. So it's a possibility. I want to do it. Myron has already talked about getting Hotep Jesus and myself on there for a roundtable discussion. Myron, I will say, has been doing some really good work lately. He's got his own setup. He's got his own studio. He's got he's really coming into his own, like, professionally, I think. We've already talked about it. So yes, the possibility definitely exists, and it's probably sooner than you think, because we're talking about January for it. So watch this space, right? Chris Taylor gave me $10, and then I missed that, Chris. It says, can someone with a 80 to 90 IQ achieve a 6-figure or higher 5-figure income? Absolutely. It might be illegal, but you can certainly get that. It might be there's plenty of dumb people that make lots and lots of money. In fact, I would say the majority of people who make lots and lots of money are probably not any higher than 80 or 90 IQ. Again, you can luck into it. Sure. Is it possible? Yes. Probable. Put it this way. The smarter you are, probably the better you are at ideas. Let's just say it. But that doesn't mean you can't sell the hell out of good ideas that you didn't even come up with. So yes, the answer is yes. John Smith. Is that you, John? There it is. I got you right here. Is it okay to ask your girl overtly what she likes to do in bed? Or do you have to figure out covertly? And if the answer is covertly, how do you figure it out with your wife? Okay. Lots of questions about my wife today, right? I'm going to make sure next time I'm knocking it out with my wife, I'm going to say, you know what? John Smith asked me, do you like it when I do this? Let's see. Wow. Nobody's asked me that before. as far as the open communication thing, I've been married to my wife for 20. I'm probably the first part of this question. I'm probably not the best person to ask. And I'll tell you why, because I've been with my wife for 25 years, or I've been knocking it out with her for 25 years. So I got an idea what she likes. And maybe even Sterling Cooper might be the better one to ask about this. I think that there is a certain amount of assertiveness and initiative guys need to take. I think a lot of guys think, and particularly married guys, think that if their wife isn't initiating sex with them, that's the litmus test. So she doesn't really want me because if she did, she'd be initiating sex. Well, yes and no. It could be. You could be 100% right. And you probably know better than I would. But it also could be this, is like with the women that I've had sex with like I said, I've got a notch count of like 40 plus, like 42, I think. Of the women that I have been with, I think I have initiated sex with probably a half of them. And then the other half, they initiated with me because they wanted to get with me. And that's a good place to be in. It's good to be wanted. But it doesn't mean that that's the optimal experience that women want to have. Like they want a guy who will just like turn them over and ride them to glory and hold them down, G's up, hose down, right? That's the kind of sex they want to have. They want to get like pounded. And you have to be the guy who's the driver and the initiator in that. And women don't want to be that. They want to be taken rather than to take you. And so don't think that because you initiated or she initiated is necessarily a indicator of genuine desire, because you taking her might be her genuine desire, right? So keep that in mind, because I think a lot of guys think that, well, if she's not initiating, then she's not going to really want me. Well, yeah. If she's not tearing off your clothes, sure, but she might be I would say a lot of girls want to have a dominant male already get it and know what they want, turn her around and ride her to glory. And that's what gets them off, right? It's the 50 Shades of Grey. Why is 50 Shades of Grey such a popular narrative for women? Well, because the guy took control. So there is an element. I think that what guys do is they apply like, well, if this is what I like, then this is what I want from a woman, then it must be what women want too. No. There's men and women are different, and particularly in our sexual and our arousal responses are different too. But again, so how do you figure that out? Well, I would say that you do a little of both. And there's strategic ways you can go about like figuring out what it is that she likes and what it is that you like, right? Because a lot of guys will say, well, who cares what she likes, right? That might even be enough to get her off. Like your indifference might be enough to make her work harder. But I would say it always has to be a little bit covert. You can be overt about it and say, baby, I'm like, you talk dirty to her and tell her what you're going to do, like straight up, and then go for it. Because if you're in that, if that's like, remember, frame is not just about a relationship. It's also about sex. Frame is about a lot of things. So, figuring it out covertly, yeah, you do. But there are times it's like, that's why they call PUA pickup artistry. It's not pickup science. If it was a science, if you just go, okay, baby, looks like you've told me what you want, and you're appealing to reason when you're overt about things. There is a certain arousal factor for women when a guy knows, like he's alpha enough to have been with enough women to say, I'm going to do this, and we're going to do it, and you're going to like it. And if you don't, well, then I'll try something different on the next time, right? It's trial and error, I think, more or less. I don't agree with the open communication solves all problems. Tell me what you like and I'll tell you what I like. You want to know why yes means yes and no means no and all that consent bullshit is just, it seems like so counterintuitive. It's because of exactly what you just described, John. Observing a process changes a process. Okay, well, he's going to do this to me. Now he's going to eat me out. Now he's going to do that. Now he's going to do this. Don't make it routine. Spontaneity is something you both should be working on. You should both, like men and women, should be spontaneous when it comes to sex. and be playful enough and have the genuine desire enough to do so. Most couples don't. And they don't because they feel like they're missing out on something because they settled for something that they really don't want to be involved in. How do I figure it out with my wife? I go, this is what's going to happen. She's like, all right. Just like that too. All right. Let's see. Gosh, you guys, I promised myself I wasn't going to do a 3-hour show with you, but I guess now I have no choice. Facundo says, with all due respect, what do you think about sharing quotes from your book, inserting Tomassi R 2013, the Rational Male, Counterflow Media LLC at the end? Most of my friends only speak Spanish, and I'm making an effort to translate. Of what? Of this show? Of... You can share quotes. Please do. You can share my... I mean, tell them, say, hey, I got this from the Rational Male. That's fine. Like, people think I have like a problem with... Like, I've always said this. I think the Red Pill is sort of open source. It should be open source. I mean, I like to make... Don't rip me off. Don't plagiarize me. Don't be like 33 Secrets guy and read my shit like from your Honda Civic in the middle of a dark parking lot somewhere. But, I mean, a tribute, sure. But feel free to quote as long as you're saying, well, this is something Rollo said. Well, Rich does it all the time. Rich Cooper does it all the time. In fact, if you read his book, a lot of that stuff is the same stuff I've been talking about for a long time. And I'm cool with it because it's Rich. Rich always, like, he and I have been working together for a long time now. So I'm not worried. I don't think Rich is ripping me off or anything. If you want to use something or quote me, Facundo, please do. You don't, I mean, sure, you want to go to all that trouble and make sure you put the little C, like the little copyright sign. The Rational Male, by the way, is trademarked. I own the trademark for it. So, you know, if you want to put the little R registered trademark, you can do that too. But I know I'm good with it. And if you want to translate, or if you want to translate to Spanish for your friends, that's all. I'm about that too. People keep asking me about translations. Yes, I'm going to do translations. I've got a German one in the works right now. I've got, the Polish one's already done. I'm looking at Spanish right now. Some people have asked me about French. One guy asked me about Portuguese. I guess that's what they, a guy from Macho Toxico asked me if I wanted to do something in Portuguese. I think that's what you speak in Brazil, right? Or is it Brazilian Spanish? They want the Rational Male in Brazil. So I'm good with that too. As soon as book 4 is out in the wild, my first priority is translations. So that should answer a lot of questions. Alpha Mailed, what do you say to comments like the Red Pill is a tunnel to MGTOW? MGTOW is a tunnel to monk mode. I will refer you back to the fact that these are people who resist or think that there is no way across the abyss. What is MGTOW? Tell me what MGTOW is, please. I'm all ears. What's MGTOW? Because you ask 10 guys what MGTOW is, you will get 10 fucking different answers. That's what will happen. Nobody can agree on it. The only thing I think that defines MGTOW is this, is that you don't make women the metric of your self-worth. You don't make them the measurement by which you measure yourself. Great. That's what the Red Pill's been talking about since 2004, at least since I've been involved in it, 2002. I can show you on So Suave where I first used the term, the Red Pill, and it was 2004, I think, something like that. Been around a lot longer than MGTOW. Sorry, not sorry. But what is MGTOW? Tell me what MGTOW is. Well, let me tell you. Like, I've had guys say, well, you don't know what real MGTOW is. I'm going to get it right now after this one, right? You don't know what MGTOW is. Oh, I pity that guy. He just doesn't know what MGTOW is. MGTOW is not that. MGTOW is this. MGTOW is that. It's always subjective. It's always whoever's definition is like, who gets pissed off enough to tell me what MGTOW is or it isn't. The only unifying definition that I can come up with for men going their own way is they are no longer beholden to women's estimate of who they are or what they are, being like measuring themselves or their self-worth against that. That's the best way I can describe that. And guess what? If you are Red Pill aware, you cannot help but go your own way in some degree because you're not thinking, you're not behaving, you're not believing the same stuff that you did when you were in your blue pill, life, before you sort of unplugged yourself from all of that. That's what I have to say to that. Well, MGTOW is a tunnel to monk mode. Well, maybe it is. And what's monk? So what? Where does monk mode go? Black pill? Is that where it goes? I don't know. I think the problem is we don't have any sort of standard definition of what's what. People ask me that all the time. So what is, like, when I was on Charlie and Ben's podcast, what is the red pill? And I can't, like, again, I can't get, maybe it's just me, but I can't give you the elevator speech for that. I have to say there's so many different variables and there's so many different sort of sub studies, I guess, that go on around that make up what the red pill is. It's really, red pill is about intersexual dynamics. Simple as that. But yeah, what's MGTOW? MGTOW is anything. Like, I have guys that say, like, oh, I'm MGTOW and I'm married. And I've been married for a long time, but I don't let her tell me what to do. So I'm going my own way. To him, that's MGTOW. Then you got the black pill guys who pretend that they're MGTOW, but they're really just doomers, and they'll sit in mom's basement and jerk off, violently jerk off. Carlito's Way. I think the red pill is really about seeing the truth in all facets of life. Not just women, but adjusting my vibe, aka energy, when I talk to women, which has led me down the rabbit hole all the way to alchemy. Really? I have some, if I gave you some lead, will you turn it to gold for me? Alchemy. Well, okay. All right. Yeah. I think people get mixed up when they use I think the red pill has been bastardized to such a degree that people use it as their whatever, it's the catch term for whatever their little pet project for truth really is. What does truth mean to you? I got red pilled. Yeah, is that red pill? I don't think so. I think of red pill in terms of how it applies to intersexual dynamics. If you want to carry it on from there, you can. You can say, well, there's an analogy in the Matrix movie that applies to the way I used to think about politics. And now that I think in this way, then I don't believe that crap anymore. And that was the blue pill matrix. And now I'm red pill because I believe in ethno-nationalism or whatever. Okay, but don't call it red pill. I mean, maybe if that you decided that you thought one way and now you believe something else, it's like having a religious conversion, right? I used to be a sinner and now I believe, and so that was my red pill. It could be anything. Again, it's one of those. It's one of those loose definitions. Like, what's MGTOW? Who cares? What difference does it make? If a guy says I'm MGTOW, like, MGTOW is like, the problem with MGTOW right now is that it's encountering the same problem that the red pill encountered back in 2015, 2016. Because, and I can point to Cassie J's movie, The Red Pill, because the MRAs decided they wanted to call their movie The Red Pill. They hated me, and they hated the red pill, and they hated game, and they still to this day hate PUA and anything that has to do with the red pill. And as soon as there's another Elliot Rodgers and the mainstream media says, look, he was an MRA. He was an incel. He was just like Paul Elam, right? As soon as they say something like that, then we never knew ye. Throw them under the bus. They'll be happy to use the red pill when it serves and it's convenient and it's a nice loose brand or something that sounds like a nice name to throw on a documentary where they can all cry and hug it out. But that's not the red pill. I don't know. I think maybe we're beyond the red pill. Maybe we're beyond the manosphere. Maybe we're beyond all this crap. I don't know. I don't know what else to call it, though. If somebody had a better thing to call it, I'd be happy to use it. Let's see. Hold on. Let me back up. Free Mechanics says, what would you answer to a woman who asks you about getting a good relationship partner and succeeding in a long term? I would say you need to practice enlightened self-interest. You need to make sure you're your own mental point of origin. And I would be very cautious about getting into any long-term relationship with a woman, particularly if it is not within your frame and you are able to hold it in the long term. Chris. Hey, Rollo, I am a medical student. Will finish my med school and start my residency in a year and a half. Advice on marriage after finishing residency. I'll be 29. Don't get married. Period. End of story. Wait till you're 36 before you start. Well, 35. Don't even start thinking about monogamy, especially if you're like going to be a med student. If you're like a medical student, first of all, you don't need that. You have too much to think about. You want to be a good, I don't know, surgeon, whatever you're going to be. If you want to be the best at what you're going to be, you don't need a woman in your life as a distraction at that point. You don't have the time. I mean, maybe you do, but you will not be the best that you could be if you didn't. You need an ability to maneuver. You need opportunities. And at 29, you have to be very cautious because you're entering into a period in your life, because especially if you're 29 and you've been putting all of this effort into a med school, you're going to be a prime target for women in the epiphany phase right now. And they're going to tell you, they're going to try to, they'll shame you, but they will certainly appeal to your moral masculine duty at that point. Well, are you a real man? Because a real man would take responsibility and marry me. Don't think about marriage until you get to be 33, until you are an actual surgeon. Give yourself, until you are like a year into whatever it is that you want to be, then think about long-term relationships, but don't think about marriage. Dan W. So would you avoid epiphany phase women completely if you don't have LTR plans? I don't know. Do you just want to bang them? I, 44 years old, get a lot of feedback from 30 to 35-year-old chicks mainly. Of course you do, because you are a made man. You're a proven commodity, probably. Or at least you have the perception of being a proven commodity. Why do women seek out guys who are older than them, 3 to 7 years older, and maybe in some cases older than that? Why? Because those guys are already proven commodities. There's no doubt as to what their prospects are going to be at 44 years old. You've already either made yourself or you're a piece of shit, and they don't want to have anything to do with you. So at 44 years old, and you get a lot of feedback from 30 to 35-year-old chicks, usually, especially the younger they are, maybe 35-year-old single girls who are babyless, are childless. You have to remember what their necessity is. Those women, any woman that is after 28 years old is necessitous to some degree. And if you're the guy who's the better prospect and you're a made man, I kept saying made man, but you're like, when hypergamy is trying to figure out whether a guy is worth a woman's investment, remember how Rich Cooper has said this before, is that women don't care about your struggle. They only care about the winners, and they bang the winners at the finish line. Okay. Well, not all women can do that, because not all guys are at the finish line yet. And maybe that looks like they're going to win. Like the dude is like, he's going to run. He's almost there at the finish line. Like that guy, they might want to get with that guy before he crosses the finish line. And then they could say, I was always with this guy. I remember him before he was famous. Like they want to get with the guy who had good prospects. So there has to be some kind of, that's what I call women will call it feminine intuition, right? Or there's what I call the hypergamous filter. The guy has to be a good bet, or a sure bet, a good bet. And then like, hey, he's hot, I want to bang him, but he might do something, by order of degree. So there has to be a prospect that goes along with that. Well, if you're 25 and you're, like I was just saying to the other guy who was in med school, 29, he's a pretty good bet. If he's, a year and a half out from his residency or whatever he's doing, maybe he becomes a surgeon by the time he's 33 or 36. He looks like he's going to cross the finish line and make a pretty good showing of it. So women are going to want to get with him way more than the guy who's 25, who maybe he's hot and fun in the foam cannon party, but he's not a good prospect for the long term. Well, when she's 25, she'll bang him. When she's 29, she'll probably still bang him, but she's not going to marry him. She's not. Even Sheryl Sandberg tells the girls that, don't marry those guys. Date the bad boys, date not the commitment phobic boys. What she's saying is bang the alphas when you're young. And then when you get to be 29, 30, 31 years old, then you'll find a nice beta in waiting who is waiting for you, who still believes in this bullshit idealism because he's still stupid about the game. He'll be there. Don't worry about it. You'll have a grand, and in time, nothing sexier. Her words, not mine. And so when this is how hypergamy kind of works in the long term, is she's looking for a guy who's got prospects, who's going to have potential. So by the time that guy gets to be 36 years old and he crosses the finish line, she crosses it with him. Well, If you're already 44 and you've already passed that finish line a long time ago, and you were the winner, and you certainly seem like the winner, well, the girl who is looking for the guy who and cannot find the guy who would be a good prospect, and time's running out at 30 to 35 years old, then yeah, you probably look really good. Now, the question is, what do you want to do about it? Do you want to just bang her? Or do you want to start a family with her at 44 while she's 30 years old? She's about to enter into a decade of her life that you already went through. If that's something you want to do, I don't know. You tell me, man. I just work here. Let's see. Florin gave me $5. Thanks. Oh, Ron, there it is. Do you think social media is a must today as young guy meeting women and game? Yes. If you've seen anything I've ever done with Myron Gaines, you'll understand that. I really dislike having a social media presence like Instagram. Well, you can be dark, mysterious guy, but most women want to, again, it's the brand of me. They want to see are you cool enough for them to be with? Now, here's an aside to that. You don't have Instagram, you don't have a social media presence, you don't like any of that kind of crap. Well, great. That doesn't mean that the girl that you want to get with doesn't also have that. She's also a brand of me. And there's enough brand of me guys who want to get with the brand of me girl like her that are playing that online social media, social presence game. Now, can you do an end run around that? Yeah. If you're really, really high value, if you are really good looking, you've made a lot of yourself, you maximize your potential, and she is intrigued enough that she's got your phone number or whatever. Like, technically, if she's got your cell number and you guys can sort of text back and forth, sorry, that's social media. You're already on. So you're presenting yourself in such a way, maybe you got really tight text game. Okay. But that's still social media. You're still representing yourself in that way. Everything's brand management today. So you don't get to exit the game. I would love to be able to say, yeah, let's all go back to the 1950s and go to the sock hop and go to the high school dance, and we'll just meet Johnny there. And I can't wait to see him. Oh, I just got this mental image of him in my brain and I want to get with him. I wish it worked that way. It doesn't. Jason the Dream, again, when will you be doing the rest of Rule Zero, be having that good get together in Vegas details? It will be, we're already talking about it. We have already been in discussions about it. It's going to kind of depend on how things shake out with this election stuff and how the COVID crap goes down. Vegas is hurting. And I mean hurting. I have no love for Governor Sisolak right now. That guy needs to go. I signed the recall. Trust me. I hope he gets pulled. I hope he gets whatever. I hope he gets impeached. And I am actually surprised that the moneyed interests like Steve Wynn and some of the other big money name guys in Vegas haven't already found some way to completely delimit his power, limit his power in some ways, because he is killing the tourism. He's killing the economy, literally killing, and for no reason, absolutely no reason whatsoever. Say, oh, well, it's the numbers and this, nothing changed. The only thing that's changed here in Reno is that I've got to wear a mask to the gym now, like a full up mask. Before, you just had to wear a mask to go in. You could take it off, go work out, come back out. As long as it was on your face as you're walking out the door, everything was cool. What changed since November? Not much. Now, the other part is, do I think that COVID is a thing? Sure it is. Absolutely. It killed my mom. It killed a lot of people. It killed a lot of people in assisted living facilities in Fallon, in Yerington, in Carson City, in Reno, I'm sure. I don't know. I haven't seen anything about Reno. But the reason I know is because I had to do a little bit of investigative journalism, because no one else wants to do that right now. So is there such a thing? Yeah, sure. Is there precautions? Yes. But we're killing the economy here. And so I hate to get all up in everybody's grill about that shit right now, but I have to take that into consideration when we're planning. And again, I'm not the ringleader. I'm not the leader of this. It has to go with everybody else's schedule too. We've got a guy in the UK. We got a guy in Japan. We got two guys in Canada, and we got me in the United States. I'm the only American right now on this panel right now. Only American. So if I want to get, well, Aaron Clary, I mean, of the extended family, if there's of the 5 of us, I'm the only American that's on there. I think even Carl from Black Label Logic, I think he's still in Europe. I don't think he's in the US. So I'm the only guy that's here, and I'm 45 minutes away from Vegas, but we are going to have Vegas. I know that John still wants to do his hot dude party house or whatever. We were going to do that. We want to do this. We just couldn't do it because of the lockdowns. I mean, Vegas is basically being strangled right now. So that's why we didn't do it. That's why I had to do the online thing instead of this. But we will. We will. It's already in the talks. We actually started the talks back in November. So it's in the works. Oh, when will you be doing the okay? Blah blah blah. How to maintain frame in LTR. I've already talked about that. Roy Washington got my ex-wife pregnant after a year's divorce for cheating. She moved in and is resisting my program. I ended things. She wants another shot, and I feel guilty for not wanting to, like God won't forgive me or whatever. So you knocked her up. Is that the case? Well, what are you going to do about it, man? I mean, really, what are you going to do about it? My best advice to you is you're already on the hook for child support, assuming she's got the kid. So you got your ex-wife pregnant after a year. Okay, why? Maybe you serve as a good warning for other guys. She wants another shot. I feel guilty for not wanting to, like God won't forgive me. Well, okay, so you're bringing in sort of this supernatural metaphysical thing. Okay, you feel moralistically, you feel guilty about it, probably because you have a kid with her and you don't want to give her a shot. Okay, so you're saying that you divorced her because she was cheating, or you were cheating? I'm a little off on the whole outline there, Roy. But at the end of the day, you're applying sort of this guilt, this moralistic guilt to this, and okay, whatever. But doesn't mean you can't be in that child's life if that, like, I don't know, what's going to be the optimal situation for you. Is she going to come around? Is she going to be the one who's going to like make the effort to do this? Does she still see you as a beta? I don't know. I don't know enough about the situation, honestly. However, I would say you need to make yourself your mental point of origin, and you need to be the one who decides what is best for you, and then from there, take that and use that and apply that to what is best for your child. Don't use her as a factor in this. Only use the child as a factor. Is it best for you to sort of try to work things out? Then that's on you. You got to figure that out on your own. If not, then you got to figure out a plan of how you're going to be involved in the child's life and still be you, be a free agent, I guess. I don't know. It's up to you. Zen Long says, I have it right here. I know you have plans to write red pill fiction, but do you have any plans to write about biblical stories from a red pill lens, like Cain and Abel? It's funny. I'll tell you something that's entertaining, and please don't give me any more. I gotta wrap up here at some point. When I was writing book 4, I didn't put this in. I will probably put this in as I'm considering doing this as bonus material, but I have been so focused 100% for the last year on this book that if I do this, I might use it as extra material, or I might just put it as a blog post and just give it to guys as free. But I had a section that I did not put in called the Red Pill Heroes of the Bible. And it was like Samson and Delilah, Samson, right? David, Saul, Jonah, Cain and Abel. You could talk about that too, right? But it had to have something to do with like intersexual dynamics. Samson and Delilah is the easiest one, right? Red Pill Hero of the Bible, Samson. What does the story of Samson teach us from a red pill perspective? Well, it teaches you like the idiocy of guys who are thinking with their dicks, right? Who have power, and yet the woman basically spells it out and says, how do I make you powerless? And if you don't tell me, then you don't really love me. That makes pretty much sense in any era, because that's still what women do today. and it'll gladly be the downfall of your life if you allow it. Why did David like knock it out with Bathsheba, right? Well, I was drunk, he was cute, and one thing led to another. Well, maybe he wasn't drunk, but yeah, why? There's a lot of like red pill, like intersexual story. That's what I call it. I jokingly called it red pill heroes of the Bible. I do plan to do that. I will, at the very least, I will make it a blog post on the Rational Male. Jeremiah was a bullfrog. Jeremiah, why is there a growing incel community? Because we have the internet. I know several men who are incels. They have never been in a relationship. Most of in their 20s. A couple in sexless marriages. If you're married, are you really an incel? Or are you just in a sexless marriage? You're an incel. You're a married cell. There's no such thing as an incel. You can get laid today. It's 2020. Well, it's almost 2021. You can get laid. Incel. If you think you're an incel, come. I invite you to fly into Reno, Nevada. And for $500, $600, because I need a fee too. For $600, I will teach you brothel game. And I will 100% guarantee you that if you come here with $600, you give me 150 of it. We'll take the rest of that. And I will make sure that you are no longer an incel, involuntarily celibate. You will be voluntarily sex full or lose your V card. I will guarantee you can get laid. 100%. Guaranteed. What PUA? What dating roach can offer you that kind of a guarantee? You're not an incel. You are pathetic, and you don't think you deserve to be loved. You don't think you deserve to be desired, and you're probably socially maladaptive. And this is not me coming down on you. I'm just making the observation here. I feel for you. Okay, I don't think we should beat up on incels. I don't think we should beat up on blue pill guys. I don't think we should beat up on beta male guys. I think that they need to hear the truth. And sometimes that truth is hard to hear. So usually when I'm talking to incels, they're not... the one thing that I've seen that has united the doom pill community, the black pill, doom pill... that end of the MIG, I don't want to call it. I don't even want to. You know what? I don't even want to call them MGTOW because MGTOW don't even want to be associated with them, and I understand why. But that end of the spectrum, incels and stuff like that, it's a result of this social media age. It's the result of that. Incels have always been around. They've been around when I was in the 80s. It's just that those guys had more incentive. Like they didn't have a forum of guys all over the world, so they can just cry and commiserate all the time. We didn't know. You had to. That was what motivated them. You think Jeff Bezos or like even Bill Gates or these guys who are nerds who made it good, made it big? Do you think they did like you could if you looked at Elon Musk right now, and I love you, Elon, but if you looked at Elon Musk and he wasn't Elon Musk, would you say, oh yeah, that dude's got a lot of money and he's made a lot for himself and he's done? Would you just looking at the dude or listening to the guy? He doesn't land spaceships on platforms in the middle of the ocean, right? He's just a regular dude. And you look at the guy, you would go, that dude's knocked it out with a lot of women. He's got a lot of money. He's not the most socially savvy guy in the world. He's quirky and dorky and everything else. But you know what? He overcame that. So what is that? Why do we have a growing incel community? Because the community is being platformed and it's facilitated. That's why. Likes will attract likes. The one thing I have learned about the doom pill community and a lot of the more pathological people in the manosphere is that they will find each other and they'll collaborate and they'll commiserate. And usually they don't do much of anything. They'll just sit there and bitch and moan and cry about things. Then there's some people who will take matters into their own hands because they're that desperate, or it's like it's worth it to them to commit suicide and run over people or whatever. I don't think that's a good idea, but that's why, because it's facilitated. We live in an age where we can do that. Why do we have the red pill? Same reason. Guys got together, aggregated all their information and said, hey, this is a praxology. Let's talk about this. Let's have a discussion about this. And and Atham with another sticker, and I wish I could put it on there because it was a really good cat, man. Thank you for those. I see them, brother. If no one else does, I do. Dakota, I wasted a lot of time drinking and chasing women in my 20s. Yeah. What, were you working on oil refineries? My notch count is in the 160s. But I was still blue pill. I established in my mid-30s, but I'm not interested in dating or sex. Is something wrong? No, not necessarily. It just might not be worth your while right now. Maybe you've gotten to the point where it's just like you've had sex, you understand. Like, one of the things I think guys need to be careful of is when you are dating and you're spinning plates. Spinning plates is not a means to an end. Like, I've never said this. In fact, I've written this. I've got 6 different essays on plate theory. And in at least 2 or 3 of them, I've said, look, the plate theory, first of all, you don't have to bang every girl that's a plate. So it's not about like, oh, I got to just bang anything on 2 legs. That's not what it's about. It's about gaining experience with women. And if you have sex with them, great. If not, you don't have to, as long as they're prospects, as long as you're dating them, as long as they're non-exclusive. So there's, you don't have to hit it with every single one of them. But what I think guys think of is they think that when they hear about plate theory, they think that that's the only thing. Oh, Rollo thinks the only thing in life is just chasing pussy and fucking girls. No, it's certainly an education and understanding women's nature. Because if you don't put this stuff into practice, you can read my books all day long. If you don't put it into practice, it doesn't become real for you. And you don't really understand, like, well, Rollo says that women will do this, X, Y, and Z. Okay, well, if you never go out and experience X, Y, and Z, how do you know that the experiment is real or not, right? How do you know? You can watch other people. Sure, I'm not saying like jump off a cliff. I'm just saying that you need to go out and experience it. You need to go and put this into practice. Game is the practice. Red pill is the theory. One informs the other, and one is incomplete without the other. But if all you're doing is just nailing girls all day long, you're drinking, you're chasing women, and that's your whole thing, and it's once you get up to 160, there's guys that are in like, 300, whatever. It's just, if you're blue pill, okay, if you're blue pill, fine. You can still get laid when you're blue pill. People don't think that. Yeah, I got laid quite a bit when I was still in my blue pill mindset. I was doing things the right way. I learned game, but I didn't know the red pill. I learned game well enough to get laid consistently, but I was certainly not a red pill aware guy. So yes, you can be blue pill and have a 160 notch count, sexual past. So is there something wrong with you? Not necessarily. It's just, maybe you're just tired of it. Maybe you're just done with it for a little while. Hey, maybe you find somebody that you want to get with later on. You said you're in your 30s. Okay, well, at least you have that experience. At least now you can make an educated choice later on. If you're making stupid, naive choices after that, I might be a little concerned. Dragoon, if a wife is disgusted by a specific sexual act, but you want it, is it related to her desire for you or the fact that she is disgusted by the act? I presume you're talking about anal sex, Dragoon. Although maybe some girls think of giving a blowjob as, that's disgusting. She's a lick it around the edges girl. That's what Tom Likas used to call those girls. Lick it around the edges. And you want it. Well, what that says to me is that there's no genuine desire right there. So you want that's establishing genuine desire. So if a woman is disgusted by her, she's like, that's a woman making a rule for you. Women make rules for betas and they break rules for alphas. The girl that's disgusted by whatever specific sexual act you want, that I will guarantee you the right guy comes along and she'll be happy to. She won't even think twice about it. In fact, it's possible that she probably has already done those things with guys before you came along. And there's probably digital evidence of it too. There's probably a videotape, or there's probably like some sort of amateur porn thing or whatever, some video file she's done where she's done exactly that. And she looks like she's enjoying every freaking minute of it. So generally this is just general rule of thumb. When a woman is disgusted by a particular sex act, it's usually because she has no genuine desire for you to do that. If a woman has a high enough desire to, I hate to use this because this is overused and it's stupid, but like guys will say like, oh, well, women will have sex with animals. Yeah, but it's not like that's what they prefer that. Like you could make a case and say, oh, women are into bestiality. Well, yeah, if they're making money off the video, maybe. But guys will bang animals too. So what? Your point? But it's I think it's related to. I think you're right. It is related to desire, and a woman who wants to be completely owned and controlled by you because she has a genuine desire for you. She's not disgusted by those things, or if she is, she'll still do them in spite of that because it's hot that she's disgusted by it. And I think that is it. Oh, no. One more. Last one. I was arrested for domestic violence with nail marks all over me 2 years ago. Like she dug her nails into it. I remember my BPD girlfriend used to do that shit. And she was like, should have said something. She was 28-year-old Muslim virgin at the time of marriage. I'm now 38 and losing desire for her. What are my options with her? Divorce. Simple as that. You know that, 9 times out of 10, guys, when you ask me questions and stuff, it's, the answer. What do you want me to give you permission? Okay, here it is. Go divorce her. There it is. Well, she's nuts. She's digging her nails into you. She's 28, a 28-year-old virgin. Okay, well, is it because she's a Muslim and that she's what she's been doing? Well, maybe that's what made her crazy, right? I don't know. But I will say this is that if that's the case, you're losing desire for her. You've already you were arrested for a domestic violence with nail marks all over you. Like, what do you want me to tell you? Oh, but stick it out with her. Yeah, make it work. Pray to Allah. He will bless your marriage and everything will work out great. Is that what you want me to say? Because the real solution to that problem is you divorce her and you move on. That's the best policy right there. Okay, it's 3 hours, guys. I hope you guys have enjoyed every thrilling minute of this today. I promise on Sunday we'll have a more, it's funny. I think Wednesday is sort of like my open topics. Like I think, well, what am I going to talk about on Wednesday? Sunday, I actually put like time and energy into like thinking what I'm going to do. Wednesdays, I'm like, if something's hot, I'll hit it. That's when I do my Tommy Lahren shows. I will be on Rule Zero on Saturday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. It's either going to be me hosting or it's going to be Ryan hosting. Rich is we're going to do the year-end show like we did last year where we do our predictions and we'll cover what we talked about last year. We had Hotep Jesus on Rule Zero on last year's year-end show, and I thought it was pretty fascinating. I'm going to see if I can dig up some footage of that so we can sort of replay some of this stuff. That's coming up on what's my calendar say? On the 26th. So Rule Zero will either be on my channel, this channel here, or it will be on Ryan Stone's channel. We haven't decided who's going to host. So that is the next time you will see me. The book is I have done proofing the galley text that the print copy that was sent to me. I send it back and we get things underway. I apologize. I had to push things back about 2 weeks schedule wise because of my mother passing away. So I'm still feverishly finishing the proofing and the editing of book 4, which will be coming out very soon within the next couple of weeks. So just to give you a heads up. And also, Sam, you'll be getting the actual copy so you can get started on the Audible. And then also the Kindle version, the e-book version will drop at the same time as the print book. I will encourage you to buy the print book first, but please buy the Kindle too. a lot of guys like to read it that way. Audible will not be available until Sam is done with the read. I don't know exactly what his timeline is, but I would say it's within at least 6 months. So anyways, that's that. And I will see you guys on Saturday. Bye-bye.